Chapter 757. Longao was already having a hard time dealing with the Saint Emperor. Now that there were 30 Saint Venerables, it was even more difficult for him to move an inch. Moreover, Longao had already promised Long Fu that he would help him obtain the so-called flame crystal no matter what. With no other choice, Longao could only use all his trump cards. His innate ability, Dragon Roar, spatial teleportation, his self-created martial technique, Sorrow of Heaven and Earth, and the fire movement art that he had just mastered. Even so, Longao was still unable to fight against 30 Saint Venerables. This was the difference in cultivation level, and it was 2 levels above. It seemed difficult to make up for it with other things. It was precisely because of this that everyone, including the 30 Saint Venerables, did not take Longao seriously. Once a person became arrogant, they would relax. In any case, he was bound to win. Just as everyone was filled with confidence, Longao seized a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This time, Longao did not use any other trump cards. Longao knew very well that once he missed the opportunity, it would be very difficult to continue. It was precisely because of this that Longao's attack was a soul attack. Moreover, it was a soul attack that had fused with a formation. Under normal circumstances, with Longao's level of formation skills, it was impossible for him to do this. However, Longao was so heaven-defying. If Yi Wushuang knew about this, who knew what Yi Wushuang would think? Raging flames incinerate the heavens. Longao's soul formation attack was not only fused with the formation, but it even fused with the fire movement art to absorb the surrounding flame energy. With so many layers, one could imagine the power of the soul formation attack. The burning sky formation was a myriad of formations. Longao chose to fuse the destruction formation with the soul attack. Swoosh! The invisible soul that had fused with the flame energy instantly shot out. In order to hit the target with one hit, Longao suddenly roared and flew up. Everyone was shocked by Longao. Could it be that this kid was scared silly? Ah! 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 Before anyone could react, 3 miserable cries rang out. Soon after, the 3 Saint Sovereigns collapsed to the ground, never to get up again. The 3 Saint Venerables were dead. What exactly happened? What happened just now? Everyone stared blankly at the scene in front of them. Could this be Longao's doing? Everyone swallowed hard. No one had seen Longao's attack, and no one knew how Longao had killed 3 Saint Venerables. Everyone froze on the spot, including the 3 titled Great Emperors. Overjoyed, Longao naturally would not miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was also at this moment that Longao's body disappeared. With spatial teleportation, Longao suddenly appeared before the 2 holy venerates. He chuckled and did not give the 2 holy venerates any time to react. Then, the divine dragon arm and the underworld tiger arm struck the 2's temples. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. 2 loud sounds rang out, and the 2 holy venerates' bodies flew back like kites with their strings cut. Plop, plop. The 2 holy venerates crashed into the ground. They tried to get up with much difficulty, but they still fell in the end. Xiao Chen smashed 2 holy venerates to death with one punch. In just a few seconds, 5 holy venerates died at Longao's hands. Was this for real? Longao can kill 5 holy venerates in 2 moves. If there are no surprises, the divine equipment he has should be very powerful. The 3 of them did not believe that with Longao's strength, he would be able to kill 5 holy venerables by himself. Therefore, the 3 of them believed that Longao was able to succeed by relying on his divine tool. It would be a lie to say that they did not want such a strong divine equipment. The 3 people's eyes lit up and their faces were full of greed. They couldn't wait to go up and snatch this divine tool from Longao's hands. However, Longao's action just now gave the 3 of them a fright. Without full confidence, the 3 of them definitely wouldn't act rashly. Seeing the 5 corpses on the ground, everyone took 10 steps back and looked at Longao in fear. Longao wore black clothes and had long scarlet hair. Amid the raging flames, he looked like a god of war descending. It was like he had the boldness to kill anyone in his way. Whoever dares to provoke me again will be killed without mercy. Longao was truly enraged. Originally, He thought that he did not want to implicate the ordinary disciples or even some strong cultivators in his grudge with the four factions. However, after experiencing danger again and again, Longao finally understood one thing. The more you give in, the more the other party wants a yard after taking an inch. If this continued, he would suffer a great loss sooner or later. Being merciful to one's enemies was the greatest cruelty to oneself. Longao, do you think you are invincible in this world? Long Maoan. Longao had never liked Long Maoan. As the head of the Long family, he did not know how to raise the level of the Long family and develop the strength of the Long family. Instead, he kept thinking of ways to deal with him. What was the point of having such a family head? However, since things had come to this point, Longao did not even bother to say anything more. He ignored Long Maoan. Looking at the situation, Long Mo Wen was furious. However, Long Yang waved his hand and stopped Long Mo Wen. He said, Longao, the grudge between us must be settled in the raging flames incinerate the heavens. I will give you a chance now. F*CKU. Before Long Yang could react, Longao suddenly laughed and said, this time, the Martial Artists Alliance suddenly intervened in the 9-state spiritual region. I thought we could form an alliance and fight against the Martial Artists Alliance together. Now, it seems that working with a group of shameless idiots like you is an insult to my character. Fight against the Martial Artists Alliance. Hearing that Longao wanted to fight against the Martial Artists Alliance, everyone laughed as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. Longao, don't you think you are overestimating yourself? The Martial Artists Alliance was one of the most powerful forces in the world. It was on the same level as the Long family and the Wan Shou sect. A small Longao and a newly established dragon sect wanted to fight against the Martial Artists Alliance. Dream on. Longao, if you hand over your sacred artifact, I will consider letting you go. Whether you live or die depends on your luck. Otherwise, this time, Longao did not continue to talk nonsense. He directly threw out a punch. The power of the punch pierced through the air and shot towards Long Yang and the others. No one thought that Longao would take the initiative to attack. He was simply courting death. Kill. As the raging flames became more and more powerful, the Saint Emperor could no longer split himself to deal with Longao. Even protecting himself was a serious problem. Therefore, the three forces could only send out Saint Venerables. However, Longao had just killed 5 Saint Venerables. The three forces were afraid and did not dare to act rashly. They continued to send out Saint Venerables casually. P.S. The remaining 5 chapters will be sent out one by one later. Thank you for your monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 758. The Sacred Venerables did not dare to attack, so only the Sacred Emperors did. The three forces had about the same number of Sacred Emperors. They all had about 20 of them. The three forces had a total of 60 Sacred Emperors. In order to be absolutely safe, Wei Ling, Shun He, and Long Yang ordered all the Sacred Emperors to kill Longao. They did not believe that Longao could survive under such circumstances. Just like that, 60 Sacred Emperors attacked Longao at the same time. Such a scene was rare because under normal circumstances, the Sacred Emperors would not attack a sacred ruler. It was a matter of status. Moreover, a total of 60 Sacred Emperors had joined forces. If news of this spread, they would probably laugh their heads off. However, the three of them could not care about anything else now that things had developed to this stage. The three forces only had one goal, which was to kill Longao. As for the matter of face, they had already thrown it aside. Longao was surrounded by 60 Sacred Emperors and looked on coldly. It would be a lie to say that he was not worried. Although he was very confident in his own strength, Longao knew his own limits. With his strength alone, let alone fighting against 60, it was impossible for him to even fight against one Saint Emperor. Was he going to die here? Longao was not willing to give up. In his mind, he quickly thought of various methods to see if he could avoid this calamity. After thinking about it, Longao could not think of a better way to deal with the 60 Sacred Emperors. Moreover, there were dozens of great emperors behind the 6 Sacred Emperors. Even if they took turns to fight him, they could still kill him. Did he have to use the blood pool? In the end, Longao could only think of one way, which was to use the power of the blood pool. He was very confident because he had used the blood pool once before. Its power was needless to say. However, Longao knew very well that once he used the power of the blood pool, he would be devoured by the blood pool. After becoming a puppet, it would be impossible for him to turn the situation around. In other words, if he used the blood pool a second time, he might become a killing tool in the future. Should he use the power of the blood pool? Or should he not use the power of the blood pool? For a moment, Longao didn't know how to choose. With the help of spatial teleportation, Longao did not clash head-on with the 60 Saint Emperors. This way, he could be considered to have escaped the encirclement for the time being. However, Longao knew that this was not a long-term solution. "Master, follow my aura and help me find the flame crystal." "Huh!" Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao almost staggered and fell. He never thought that Long Fu would ask him to look for flame crystals at this time. He couldn't even control himself. However, he had already promised Longao. If he didn't go, it would seem a bit unkind. As a result, Longao constantly used spatial teleportation and disappeared. Even Saint Emperors and Great Emperors could not catch up to him. Just like that, Longao quickly shot toward the southeast under Long Fu's guidance. Longao's speed was simply too fast. He didn't give anyone a chance to catch up to him. Raging flames incinerate. The entire space wasn't too big. It was like a small city with flames everywhere. Following Long Fu's guidance, after about 10 minutes, Longao arrived at the center of Raging Flames Incinerate. This was also the core of Raging Flames Incinerate. This was also where the Raging Flames Incinerate was the strongest. Not to mention Longao, even the 3 titled Great Emperors didn't dare to get close. Seeing Longao's body disappear into the flames, everyone was at a loss. After thinking for a while, everyone could guess what Longao meant. What do you guys think? It seems like Longao knows that he's going to die. Therefore, he would rather commit suicide than be killed by us. Shun-He and Might nodded in agreement. The 3 of them obviously knew that the place in front of them was the strongest part of Raging Flames Incinerate. Even they didn't dare to casually get close. Sigh, it doesn't matter if Longao dies. It's just a pity that the mysterious divine tool is gone. Alright, this lad is dead. We don't have to worry about him anymore. Let's hurry up and cultivate. If nothing goes wrong, the second sky of purgatory shouldn't be so simple. Longao had died, so no one dared to be careless. They immediately found a place to sit down. While resisting the surrounding flames, they cultivated with the help of the flames. At the center of Raging Flames Incinerate. When Longao stepped in, he felt as though he had sunk into a volcano. If it wasn't for the protection of the immemorial divine dragon's power, he would have turned into ashes and disappeared without a trace. Long Fu didn't need to say anything. Longao had already guessed that the so-called flame crystal stone was definitely here. Although this place was very dangerous, the 3 major forces didn't dare to get close. It could be considered as a temporary escape. However, Longao was very clear that if this continued, he wouldn't be able to endure until the second sky of purgatory. After all, the flames here were too terrifying. Before Longao could find Long Fu's figure appeared. "Long Fu, what should we do now?" Long Fu obviously knew what his master meant. After thinking for a while, he said, "Master, this is the center of Raging Flames Incinerate. Not only is the flame crystal stone here, Master can also use the fire elemental art to continuously absorb the flames. If nothing goes wrong, Master should be able to break through the peak of Saint King Realm in the remaining time." Hearing this, Longao's face was filled with joy. "Long Fu, I'll help you get the flame crystal stone first." "Master, as I said just now, it would take at least 3 days. However, you will enter the second sky of purgatory soon. There is no time at all. Let me think." Longao didn't speak because he didn't know what to do. After all, as Long Fu said, he had already wasted a lot of time. He would enter the second sky of purgatory soon. In this way, Even if he cultivated with all his might, he wouldn't be able to catch up. What should he do? After thinking for a while, Long Fu raised his head and said, "Master, if you take the flame crystal stone now, you will definitely be discovered by the Martial Artists Alliance. There is only one way. The moment you enter the second sky of purgatory, take the flame crystal stone. At that time, I will use the fastest speed to transfer a small part of the energy in the flame crystal stone to you. I believe that you will only need 2 hours to break through the peak of Saint King Realm." Although Long Fu's method was simple, Longao was very clear that this was extremely dangerous. If he relaxed slightly and was discovered by the Martial Artists Alliance, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, things had already come to this point. No matter what, he had to get the flame crystal stone. Not only for Long Fu, but also for himself. After all, if he cultivated normally, who knew how long it would take to break through the peak of Saint King Realm from intermediate Saint King Realm? But now, with the help of the flame crystal stone, he only needed 2 hours to break through from intermediate Saint King Realm to peak Saint King Realm. Chapter 759. Longao sat quietly in the land of flames. At this moment, Longao already knew where the flame crystal rock was. He was now waiting for the arrival of the second sky of purgatory. 1 day and 1 night passed in the blink of an eye. Just a second before the arrival of the second sky of purgatory, Longao's body moved. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to find the whereabouts of the flame crystal rock. However, Longao was different. With the help of Long Fu, he easily found it. Longao, who had just obtained the flame crystal rock, was suddenly enveloped by a white light. In the next moment, he disappeared without a trace. Second sky of purgatory, everlasting illusory realm. As for the second heavens of purgatory, everyone was already clear about it. Everyone's expression was somewhat unsightly. This was because in order to successfully pass through the everlasting illusory realm, one had to first break through the illusion. Before everyone started, a white light flashed and Longao's body suddenly appeared. Looking at Longao in front of them, everyone was completely dumbfounded. This was because they had always thought that Longao had committed suicide. Since that was the case, why would he appear in the second sky of purgatory? The second sky of purgatory's everlasting illusory realm was different from the first sky of purgatory's raging flames burning the heavens. The 3 major powers had no chance to deal with Longao because the illusory realm had already arrived. The illusory realm was actually the so-called illusory array. Those who entered the everlasting illusory realm without using the illusory array had a very small chance of successfully leaving. This was because the more powerful one was, the more powerful the illusory array would be. Longao was different. He cultivated arrays, especially illusory arrays, which focused on comprehension. In the Burning the Heavens array, Longao was very clear that the illusory array was the most powerful and also the most difficult to comprehend. However, after this period of comprehension, Longao could be considered to have made some achievements. Because of this, when Longao stepped into the second sky of purgatory's everlasting illusory realm, his expression changed slightly. This was because he could clearly feel that the illusory array of the second sky of purgatory, which was the so-called everlasting illusory realm, was very powerful. He didn't dare to be careless. At that moment, Longao's surroundings changed. He first arrived at the flowing cloud sect, and the scenes of him and Yu Yin appeared once again. "If you don't leave, I'll stay by your side in life and death." In the next scene, the scene suddenly changed again. Yu Yin was killed in a mysterious place. Although Longao clearly knew that the scene in front of him was just an illusion, he still couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat. It was heart-wrenching. Longao almost collapsed. At this time, the illusion suddenly split into 2. Not only did Yu Yin appear, but the so-called Aoshue also appeared. It was also a mysterious place. Aoshue had fainted for the 9th time and was on the verge of death. In other words, the 2 most important women in his life had fallen. What a powerful illusion array. Fortunately, he already knew that the second sky of purgatory was an illusion test. Otherwise, he would have been cheated. Longao had studied illusion arrays before, so he didn't act rashly. He focused on finding the array core of the illusion array because only by finding the array core could he break the illusion array. In the boundless space, Longao stood quietly with his eyes closed. Even so, the illusion array still silently entered his mind. Even so, Longao still firmly guarded his heart and wasn't affected by the illusion array. Longao himself was an array master and had studied illusion arrays before. It could be said that he pulled himself back from the precipice and pulled himself back in time. Everyone from the three major forces wasn't too optimistic. After all, the illusion array was stronger against stronger opponents. Even Wei Ling, Shun He, and Long Yang, the three titled Great Emperors, couldn't withstand the attack of the illusion array. In just a few minutes, the remaining people from the Nether Mansion had all fallen. As for the people from the other three major forces, people gradually began to fall. Even the Saint Emperors couldn't withstand it. There were 10 levels of purgatory, and each level was stronger than the previous. The power of the second sky of purgatory was far stronger than the first sky of purgatory. One could imagine how powerful the third sky of purgatory was. After a few hours of searching, Longao still couldn't find the array core. This meant that he couldn't break the illusion array at all. However, Longao was no longer worried. The reason was simple. Although he couldn't break the array couldn't hurt him either. It was because of this that Longao immediately sat on the ground. He had already successfully obtained the fire crystal. According to Long Fu, once he refined it and obtained 1/10 of its power, it would be enough to raise his cultivation level to the peak Holy King realm. In the 8th stage of the illusionary divine realm, only by breaking through to the peak Holy King realm would one be able to break through to the Holy King realm. In a short 2 hours, Long Fu had already communicated with Longao. He went straight to the point and said, "Master, the fire crystal contains more power than I expected. Therefore, you can't devour more power. If you devour too much, you will definitely be devoured by the fire crystal and explode." Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was pleasantly surprised. He had never thought that the fire crystals he obtained from the raging flames burning the heavens in the first heaven of the purgatory would contain so much power. "Long Fu, how much power can I obtain?" Longao didn't care about how much power the fire crystal contained. He only cared about one thing, and that was how much power he could obtain. Of course, Long Fu knew what Longao was thinking. After thinking for a while, he said, "Master, I've just calculated. According to the power contained in this fire crystal, you can obtain about 1% of its power. In this way, in an hour, I'm confident that your cultivation will be able to break through to the peak of the Saint King realm." Before Longao could speak, Long Fu continued, 1% of its power is enough for you to break through to the peak Holy King realm. Next, I will leave you with 2% of its power. At that time, you can use the power of the fire crystal to break through to the Holy King realm. Hearing this, Longao was pleasantly surprised. "Long Fu, forgive me for being blunt. Since 3% of its power is enough for me to break through to the Holy King realm from the intermediate Holy King realm, why can't I devour more power? In this way, won't I be able to become a great emperor? Or even a titled great emperor?" Longao was very curious about this. Since the power of the fire crystal was so great, if he devoured all of it, not to mention great emperors, titled great emperors, or even gods, he would be able to break through directly. However, Longao was also a little curious. If Long Fu was unwilling to give him power, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Even if Long Fu didn't restore the dragon seal, he would definitely help him break through to a higher realm. There was no doubt about that. Therefore, Longao was a little curious. It seemed that this matter wasn't as simple as he had imagined. What was going on? After thinking for a while, Longao couldn't figure it out. Therefore, he could only ask Long Fu to clarify. Chapter 760. In the current situation, Longao really needed power. He knew very well that the higher his cultivation, the more advantageous it would be for him. "Master, I know what you're thinking. The power of the fire crystal is too strong. Under normal circumstances, you won't be able to swallow the fire crystal." "I see. Longao knew that Long Fu would not be unwilling. Master, I can refine the fire crystal, but only 3% at most. If it's more, I'm afraid you won't be able to take it and will suffer a backlash. Long Fu did not say anything, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he heard it clearly. Nodding, Longao went straight to the point. Long Fu, if there are no accidents, why don't we start now? Long Fu obviously knew that his master was anxious. Without any hesitation, he immediately sent the 1% of the refined power into Longao's body. Longao was shocked. Pleasantly surprised, he immediately began cultivating with all his might. Just as Long Fu had said, in just an hour, Longao's cultivation broke through from mid-level Saint Ruler to peak Saint Ruler with the help of the fire crystal. After successfully breaking through, Longao asked somewhat impatiently, Long Fu, I've already absorbed 1% of the power and broke through from mid-level Saint Ruler to peak Saint Ruler. When will you give me the remaining 2%? Long Fu had just said that once he absorbed the remaining 2%, his cultivation could break through to Saint King. Shrugging helplessly, Long Fu said helplessly, Master, with your current cultivation, you can't continue absorbing the power of the fire crystal. Why is that? Longao was very surprised. He did not know why he could not continue absorbing the power of the fire crystal. Under normal circumstances, since he had already absorbed the power of the fire crystal and broken through to peak Saint Ruler, why could he not continue absorbing the power of the fire crystal and break through to Saint King? But what was the result? Master, there's something you don't know. You've just broken through to peak stage Holy King and have yet to consolidate your cultivation. If you immediately devour the remaining 2% of power now, although Long Fu did not finish his words, the meaning in his words was very clear. So that was the case. Although Longao was very unwilling in his heart and somewhat impatient, if there was a danger of backlash, then it was better to wait. His cultivation had already successfully broken through to peak stage Saint King. Longao did not continue to hesitate. He immediately began to search for the formation cause in the surroundings. If he could not find the formation cause in a short period of time, he would not be able to break through the illusion formation. He would also not be able to successfully pass through the first heaven of purgatory and enter the second heaven of purgatory. First sky of purgatory, raging flames incinerate the heavens, second sky of purgatory, limitless illusion array. After searching around, Longao still couldn't find the array eye of the infinite illusory array. With no other choice, he could only use the burning sky array art to try and see if he could break the so-called infinite illusory array. The burning sky array art had a total of more than 30 types of illusory arrays. Among them, there were at least 3 types of illusory arrays that were more powerful than the infinite illusory array. But what made Longao's balls hurt was that he could not truly comprehend the path of illusory arrays in the burning sky array art. As such, it was still a little difficult to break the infinite illusory array. Could it be that he would be trapped in the infinite illusory array just like that? At this moment, Longao's eyes narrowed because he realized something. With the power of the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art, although he could not break the infinite illusory array, he could see what he wanted to see. A scene appeared in mid-air in front of Longao. It was also considered a spatial projection. There were all kinds of scenes on it. They were all scenes of everyone from the 3 major forces, including Wei Ling, Shun He, and Long Yang resisting the illusory array. Longao roughly calculated. In just 2 hours, the 3 major forces had lost almost 1/3 of their people. As for the Nether Mansion, they had been completely annihilated. Although Longao had already guessed this result, he was still very surprised when he saw it for himself. After careful observation, he realized that the 3 titled Great Emperors were indeed very powerful. No matter what, the infinite illusory array would become stronger when facing a strong opponent. The stronger the 3 titled Great Emperors were, the more terrifying the illusory array they saw would be. Even so, the 3 of them still persevered. We have successfully passed. Seeing that the 3 titled Great Emperors had successfully passed through the infinite illusory array, Longao wasn't very unwilling. As for the remaining people, they were all bitterly persevering. They could be killed by the illusory array at any time and die in the second sky of purgatory. Longao didn't care about the remaining people. He knew that he couldn't continue to be trapped in the illusory array. Otherwise, who knew what would happen in the future? Longao wasn't a fool. Since he could see different scenes with the help of the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art, then wouldn't he be able to break the infinite illusory array with the help of the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art? Longao wouldn't let go of any opportunity. The 10 heavens of purgatory were only at the second sky of purgatory. What about the remaining 8 heavens of purgatory? Since things had already reached this stage, Longao didn't dare to hesitate. He immediately circulated the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art, metal elemental art, wood elemental art, water elemental art, fire elemental art, and earth elemental art. Although he hadn't truly comprehended the essence of the 5 elements art, Longao had already begun to learn the basics of the earth elemental art and fire elemental art. He could be considered to have grasped the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art. Just as expected, Longao was overjoyed. With the guidance of the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art, he slowly headed towards the northwest direction. As expected, he found the eye of the infinite illusory array. Without any hesitation, he directly broke the eye of the array, which was also breaking the infinite illusory array. He successfully passed through the second sky of purgatory and entered the third sky of purgatory. Third sky of purgatory. According to Lei Luo, no matter who it was, as long as they successfully passed through the third sky of purgatory, they could request to leave at any time. If they wanted to continue, they could directly enter the next sky. Until now, Longao was still very depressed. Because according to Lei Luo, once one successfully passed through the third sky of purgatory from the 10th sky of purgatory, one's cultivation would have a significant breakthrough. But now, not only him, he believed that it was the same for others. If he hadn't obtained the power of the flame crystal, his cultivation wouldn't have been able to directly break through from the intermediate Holy King to the peak Holy King. However, things had already reached this stage. There was no point in saying more. The most important thing was to successfully pass through the 10th sky of purgatory. Longao had already decided that no matter what happened, no matter how dangerous the 10th sky of purgatory was, he had to try and see if he could pass through the 10th sky of purgatory. In other words, even if he could successfully pass through the third sky of purgatory, he wouldn't be able to leave the purgatory space. Third sky of purgatory, three-eyed divine general. According to the information given by the 10th sky of purgatory, the test in the third sky of purgatory was to defeat the divine general guarding the third sky of purgatory, which was the so-called three-eyed divine general. P.S. The 8th chapter has been delivered. The last 2 chapters will be delivered after midnight. As for the exact time, Little 9 can only hurry. Chapter 761. Third Heaven of Purgatory. The three-eyed general was the same as the limitless illusion formation. As the warrior's strength increased, the three-eyed general's strength corresponded. In other words, Longao's cultivation was only at peak Saint King, so the three-eyed general's strength would also be suppressed to peak Saint King. If Longao's cultivation broke through to Divine Path, then the three-eyed general's strength would also rise to Divine Path realm. In front of Longao, it was a green giant, about 3 meters tall. His limbs were longer than an average person's. Especially on the green giant's face, there were 3 eyes. Before Longao could react, the three-eyed general had already attacked fiercely. To be honest, Longao had never put the three-eyed general in his eyes. From his point of view, no martial artist of the same level was his match. But in the end, what Longao did not expect was that when he fought with the three-eyed general, Longao was shocked. Because he realized something. Although the three-eyed general was only at peak Saint King realm, his true strength was even above Saint Emperor, which was peak Saint Emperor. Shameless, despicable. Such a test was simply unfair. But after thinking about it, Longao knew that if the 10 levels of purgatory were really fair, then it would not be full of danger. Not daring to be careless, Longao focused on fighting against the three-eyed general. The three-eyed general did not have any martial techniques, only brute force. But even so, every move of the three-eyed general was a killer move. As long as one was hit, one would definitely be killed. The three-eyed general and Longao went back and forth. In the blink of an eye, they had already fought for 30 rounds. There was no clear winner. But Longao knew clearly that he was made of flesh and blood. As for the three-eyed general, who knew if he was a human or something? If he was immortal, then it would be really troublesome. Because of this, Longao wanted to end the battle quickly. Innate ability, Dragon Roar. Powerful dragon breath spread in all directions. When it enveloped the three-eyed general, Longao thought that his opponent would be locked on by his innate ability. But the result? The three-eyed general was not targeted by the innate ability at all. What was going on? Longao was shocked. Through his senses, Longao finally discovered something. The three-eyed general he was fighting was a lord without a soul at all. It was also because of this that his innate ability was unable to lock onto the three-eyed general. Without a soul, this matter would be difficult. What should he do? After thinking about it, Longao realized that it was not easy to kill a soulless monster. In the end, Longao prepared to use the wild blood saber to deal with the three-eyed divine general. Longao slashed again and again, and the saber light streaked across the sky. The three-eyed general did not dodge at all. In other words, the three-eyed general took the saber light head-on. Longao was shocked by the three-eyed general's actions. It seemed that the three-eyed general wasn't simple at all. Master, you can't defeat the three-eyed general. Long Fu, why is that? I just sensed the third sky of purgatory and the three-eyed general. I don't know who did this. Although the three-eyed general is still at the peak of the Saint King realm, he has the strength of a Saint Master. Therefore, with your strength, you can't be a match for the three-eyed general, let alone kill him. The strength of a Saint Master. Longao finally knew why he couldn't defeat the three-eyed general. There was no need to guess. Longao already knew that this must be the doing of the Martial Artists Alliance. Otherwise, who could do such a thing in the 10th sky of purgatory? Long Fu, what should I do now? Longao knew very well that if he didn't know what to do, Long Fu would definitely not stand up. Therefore, he was completely sure that Long Fu knew how to deal with Long Fu. Just as expected. Long Fu thought for a while and said, Master, a Saint Master isn't that difficult to deal with. However, with your current strength, you can't defeat him. Therefore, we can only use our strength and use our wits. Only use our wits and not our strength. Longao was very curious. He didn't know what Long Fu meant. Long Fu, what should I do? It's very simple. Master, if it was the previous me, I wouldn't be able to help you. However, I've already refined a portion of the flame crystal you just obtained. The dragon seal space has also recovered and improved greatly. Therefore, it's more than enough to deal with a small Saint Master. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was delighted. With Long Fu's help, Longao also relaxed. He didn't continue to attack and stood aside obediently, waiting for Long Fu to attack. Seeing Longao suddenly stop, the three-eyed general continued to attack expressionlessly. However, at this moment, Long Fu's figure suddenly appeared. Borrowing the power of the dragon seal space, Long Fu directly enveloped the three-eyed general. Terrifying power covered the sky and earth as he attacked. The awe-inspiring three-eyed general was instantly crushed under Long Fu's powerful attack. Not even a speck of dust was left. Looking at the three-eyed general that had been obliterated, Longao was pleasantly surprised. Longao had never imagined that he would be able to deal with the three-eyed general so easily. This also meant that he had successfully passed through the third sky of purgatory. It was up to him whether he would continue to stay in the 10th sky of purgatory. Having successfully passed through the third sky of purgatory, Longao was very curious. He didn't know what the reward that Lei Luo spoke of was. According to Lei Luo, as long as he could successfully pass through the third sky of purgatory, it would be easy for him to break through a level. Because of this, Longao became even more expectant and curious. At this moment, a message suddenly appeared in Longao's mind. It was something along the lines of congratulations. At this moment, Longao finally knew what the reward for passing through the third sky of purgatory was. In other words, The rewards for the first, second, and third sky of purgatory would all be added together. Before Longao could react, a special energy rapidly entered his body. Longao could clearly sense that this energy was very powerful. It didn't seem to be any weaker than the energy that Long Fu had just given him. He was overjoyed. It seemed that he could continue to break through with the help of this energy. Breaking through to the Saint King realm shouldn't be a problem. However, at this moment, the energy that had just entered Longao's body was forcefully expelled by Long Fu. He had no idea what was going on. After all, he still needed this mysterious energy to break through to the Saint King realm. But now, Long Fu, what's going on? Master, there's a shocking secret behind this. If this energy hadn't entered your body, I wouldn't have been able to sense it. But now, I've finally discovered that something is wrong. Author's note: the 9th chapter has been delivered. The last chapter will be delivered tomorrow morning. It's already 1:30. I'm so sleepy. Chapter 762. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was also shocked. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that things were not that simple. What was going on? Longao did not ask, because he knew that Long Fu would definitely tell him. Master, the reward given to you by the 10 levels of purgatory is very strange. Although I don't know who is behind it, I am 100% sure that once you refine this power and break through to the next level, you will become someone's puppet. His heart skipped a beat. Longao had guessed countless possibilities, but he did not think of this possibility. If Long Fu had not told him personally, he would not have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Long Fu did not need to say more. Longao had already guessed what had happened. Until now, Longao was still a little scared. Just as Long Fu had said, if he had refined the power he had just received, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Puppet, whose puppet would he have become? Master, you have to remember, even if you successfully pass the remaining 10 levels of purgatory, you must not accept any rewards. Otherwise, Long Fu did not finish his words, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Longao nodded. How could he not know what Long Fu meant? It seemed that everything was a trap set up by the Martial Artists Alliance. The purgatory space, in name, was the so-called Holy Land for cultivation, but in reality, it was a place to increase anyone's strength and then turn them into a puppet. He had to admit that the Martial Artists Alliance was indeed shameless and despicable. If Long Fu had not reminded him in time, even he would have been tricked by the Martial Artists Alliance. Although he was very angry that he did not accept the reward, he still gained something from entering the 10 levels of purgatory. First of all, he found the flame crystal that Long Fu had mentioned. Not only was it very helpful in repairing the dragon seal, but his cultivation had also directly broken through to the peak of the Holy King realm. Master, are you going to leave the purgatory space or continue to pass the levels? Continue. Long Fu wasn't surprised at all that his master was preparing to continue. If it were anyone else, just like the 3 major forces and the 3 titled Great Emperors, all of them would choose to give up on leaving the purgatory space. Only Longao chose to continue. Master, the 10 heavens of purgatory. If nothing unexpected happens, you don't have the strength to accept the reward, so you can't continue. Longao was very surprised. No matter what, this was only Long Fu's guess. He still wanted to try. But as expected, before he could enter the 4th layer of the purgatory, his body had already disappeared into the 10th layer. Longao cursed in his heart. Although he couldn't obtain the reward power, he still valued the experience of the 10 heavens of purgatory. However, just as Long Fu had said, without the reward power, he wouldn't be able to enter the 4 heavens of purgatory, let alone the trials of purgatory. Within the valley, more than 300 people from the 3 major forces entered the purgatory space. However, less than 30 people from each force came out alive. This meant that they had lost 2/3 of their forces. But without exception, except for the 3 titled Great Emperors, everyone's cultivation had increased by a lot. However, Longao was very clear that everyone from the 3 major forces had accepted the reward. While they had broken through their realms, they had unknowingly become puppets of the Martial Artists Alliance. Longao saw the people from the three major forces. At the same time, the three major forces also saw Longao. Because of this, everyone was shocked. Everyone thought that Longao would definitely die in the purgatory space this time. But what was the result? But since things had already reached this stage, no one dared to say anything. Lei Luo, who was standing in front of them, was very surprised. However, he was also extremely excited. This was because Longao had successfully passed the 3 trials of purgatory. If there were no accidents, then Longao should have received the reward power. If that was the case, then Longao was basically a puppet of the Martial Artists Alliance. Congratulations to all of you for successfully passing the 3 heavens of purgatory. I will inform the Martial Artists Alliance about what happened today as soon as possible. Alright, you guys go do your own things. Lei Luo didn't say anything else. He immediately turned around and disappeared without a trace. As soon as Lei Luo disappeared, Longao didn't stay any longer. This was because he knew that although the 3 major forces had lost 2/3 of their forces in the purgatory space, the remaining people were more than enough to kill him. Kill. Wait. Shunhe stopped everyone and said seriously, the Martial Artists Alliance's intention is very clear. If there are no accidents, I believe that the 9 states continent has become the world of the Serene Hades Mansion. In other words, the Martial Artists Alliance is the puppet of the Serene Hades Mansion. Hearing Shunhe's words, everyone's expression changed. This was because they had already guessed it, but they didn't want to believe it. So, our top priority now is to go back as soon as possible and see if there is a way to save the situation. Wei Ling and Longyang nodded. Then, the 3 of them led their subordinates and rushed toward the Imperial City, the Ethereal Palace, and the Long family. As soon as they left, Lei Luo and Wei Yang suddenly appeared. Master Lei Luo, the Serene Hades Mansion has already taken over the 9 states continent. But if the 3 major forces strongly oppose it, what should we do? Do we have to destroy the 3 major forces? Wei Yang was more or less a little worried. Because he knew that as long as the Martial Artists Alliance didn't take action personally, it wouldn't be easy for the Serene Hades Mansion to destroy the 3 major forces in a short time. Of course, Wei Yang was selfish. He didn't want to become the puppet of the Martial Artists Alliance. Because of this, Wei Yang had already thought that it would be best if he could make the 3 major forces into the Serene Hades Mansion's puppets. Even if he couldn't do it, he didn't want to deal with the 3 major forces alone. If the Martial Artists Alliance could take action, it would be twice the result with half the effort. Lei Luo nodded and said, put aside the Imperial City, the Long family, and the Ethereal Palace. Also, you don't have to worry about the Dragon Sect. Master Lei Luo, why? Hearing Lei Luo's words, Wei Yang was shocked. Because he was determined to deal with the Longao and the Dragon Sect. If he couldn't do it, he wouldn't be able to swallow his anger. Moreover, Longao's talent and potential were obvious. There were too many variables. If they didn't eliminate him completely, who knew what would happen in the future? Because of this, Wei Yang was furious. He couldn't figure out why the Martial Artists Alliance didn't deal with the Longao and the Dragon Sect. What on earth had happened? P.S. Yesterday's 10th chapter has been delivered. Today's 10th chapter will be written immediately. Chapter 763. Waving his hand, Lei Luo's face darkened. Because in Lei Luo's heart, he also wanted to kill Longao. This is the order of the Martial Artists Alliance. Even your master can only do it, let alone you. Even his master can't do anything. Hearing this, Wei Yang was shocked. He knew his master's status and identity in the Martial Artists Alliance. Master Lei Luo, is there any inside story? Lei Luo was obviously very polite to Wei Yang. After all, Wei Yang's master, He Sho, was above him in both strength and status. Long family. Lei Luo only said a few simple words, which was the Long family. Because of this, Wei Yang didn't say anything more. He had already guessed what Lei Luo meant. Spirit realm of the 9 states. There were 4 forces in total. They were the East Royal City, the Long family, the South Nether Mansion, and the North Ethereal Palace. However, because of Lei Luo's sudden intervention, all the experts of the Imperial City, the Long family, and the Ethereal Palace had entered the purgatory space. In just half a month, they had lost 2/3 of their manpower. What did this mean? While the three forces were in the purgatory space, the Nether Mansion took the opportunity to dominate the spirit realm of the 9 states. The Nether Mansion didn't kill them all. They just forced the three forces to retreat to their own places. With all the experts of the three forces gone, no sect or family in the spirit realm of the 9 states could compete with the Nether Mansion. Moreover, the Nether Mansion had the support of the Martial Artists Alliance. In this way, the Nether Mansion was like a tiger that had grown wings. When the three of them returned to the 9 states with their own forces, they found that the situation had become irreversible. As expected. Everyone had guessed it, but when faced with the truth, no one chose to believe it. They didn't want to believe it either. In the past, if the Nether Mansion dared to do this, the three forces would definitely work together to deal with them. However, the situation was different now. After all, the Nether Mansion had the support of the Martial Artists Alliance. At this time, choosing to join forces to deal with the Serene Hell Mansion was equivalent to dealing with the Martial Artists Alliance in disguise. Even if the three families' original strength was not a match for the Martial Artists Alliance, let alone the current strength of the three families. Great Emperor Wei Lin, Great Emperor Longyang, and Great Emperor Shen he could only suffer in silence. Because of this, the three titled Great Emperors could only choose to accept reality. The three major forces had been worried that the Serene Hades Mansion would turn against them after they dominated the Jojo continent. After all, the Serene Hades Mansion was no longer the same as before. If they relied on the Martial Artists Alliance, they would be destroyed in a matter of minutes. Following this, the Serene Underworld Mansion personally requested the three major forces to become the Serene Underworld Mansion's subordinates. In the Imperial City, the Long family and the Ethereal Palace did not dare to object. Even if they did not want to, they could only reluctantly agree. In this way, the three families became the Nether Mansion's vassals. When the news of the Serene Underworld Mansion dominating the Jojo continent spread, it shocked the entire Jojo continent. This was because no one believed that the Serene Underworld Mansion would suddenly dominate the Jojo continent. What had happened? After the Serene Underworld Mansion successfully subdued the three major forces, everyone unanimously believed that the Serene Underworld Mansion would deal with the Dragon Sect in the next moment. This was because everyone knew that the Dragon Sect's strong rise had seriously affected the Serene Underworld Mansion's dominance. But what was the result? Just when everyone thought that the Serene Underworld Mansion would deal with the Dragon Sect, the Serene Underworld Mansion did not make a move. Not only that, the Serene Underworld Mansion did not even enter the Jojo continent. In other words, the Serene Underworld Mansion had given the Jojo continent to Longao. The situation changed again and again, causing everyone to be confused. Why did the Serene Underworld Mansion dominate the Jojo continent but not the Jojo continent? The Dragon Sect. Longao, who had just returned to the Dragon Sect, immediately went to find his grandfather to discuss. In his opinion, the Serene Underworld Mansion had already dominated the Jojo continent and had the Martial Artists Alliance as its capital. In the short term, no one could compete with the Serene Underworld Mansion. If the Dragon Sect continued to hide, the Serene Underworld Mansion would definitely do all they could to deal with the Dragon Sect. Instead of this, it was better for the Dragon Sect to surface. This way, the Dragon Sect's meaning was very clear. The Dragon Sect had no intention of competing with the Serene Underworld Mansion for the position of Overlord. As expected, the Dragon Sect had successfully surfaced, but the Serene Underworld Mansion did not deal with the Dragon Sect. While everyone was curious, Longao was also a little confused. In any case, this was a good thing because the Dragon Sect lacked time the most. In the lobby of the Dragon Sect, Longao did not hide the secrets of the Martial Artists Alliance and the Purgatory Space. He told them everything in detail. After hearing the story, Mu Wanfeng, Wang Yidao, and Long Haosh's expressions were extremely grave. Of course, the three of them knew why the Martial Artists Alliance had done this. Because of this, The three of them had never thought that the serene underworld mansion had been a puppet of the Martial Artists Alliance all this time. This kind of trick was indeed the work of the Martial Artists Alliance. The three of them also knew that this matter was not simple at all. At the very least, with the dragon sect's current strength, it was impossible for them to compete with the serene underworld mansion. To be exact, they could not compete with the Martial Artists Alliance. Aoa, what do you think about this? Shrugging helplessly, Longao said honestly, I don't know, but I am sure of one thing. The serene underworld mansion must have some tricks up their sleeves for not dealing with the dragon sect. Therefore, we must be extra careful and always be on guard against the serene underworld mansion. In response to Longao's words, the three of them nodded in agreement. Aoa, you are right. The serene underworld mansion has become the overlord of the spiritual realm of the 9 states, and they have the support of the Martial Artists Alliance. Under normal circumstances, the serene underworld mansion should deal with us, but now, Mu Wanfeng said, the Imperial City, the Ethereal Palace, and the Long family have almost become the Martial Artists Alliance's puppets. In the eyes of the Martial Artists Alliance, Aoa has already accepted the reward and become a puppet. If so, why would the Martial Artists Alliance take action? The three of them were well aware of Mu Wanfeng's intentions. Just as the four of them were talking, Long Yi suddenly rushed in. His head was covered in sweat, which made everyone curious. They didn't know what was going on with Long Yi. Father, what happened? Longao knew very well that if it was not something serious, his father would not be like this. What happened? Long Haosha and the others were also a little impatient. They did not know what had happened. Long Yi breathed deeply, pointed at the door, and said, Father, Aoa, this is not good. Long family's messengers suddenly came, and both of them are obviously warriors of the Supreme Tao. It seems that they are here to cause trouble, so we must be careful. Chapter 764. Long family's messengers. Supreme Tao warriors. Hearing Long Yi's words, everyone was shocked. No one had thought that the Long family would send messengers at this time. What was the matter? Not knowing why, everyone had a bad feeling in their hearts. Others might not know, but Longao knew clearly. If there was no accident, the Long family's messengers should be here to summon him, which meant that he should go to the Long family. Let them in. Even though Long Haosha was extremely unwilling to receive them, he knew that with Dragon Sect's current strength, it was impossible for them to be a match for the Longsha clan. If they were to offend the Longsha clan, then Dragon Sect would truly be in for a tragedy. That was why Long Haosha had no choice but to endure it. Long Yi left. Not long after, a man and a woman walked in. They were the two messengers sent by the Long family, the two Supreme Tao warriors. Lung Mion and Jiyu Shuang, the two Empty God Realm warriors of the Long family. The two of them were husband and wife. Their faces were cold. When they walked in, they emitted a cold aura that instantly covered the entire hall. Messengers, please come in. With a cold snort, Jiyu Shuang walked to the main seat of the hall and sat down. They glanced around and their faces became colder. We are the messengers sent by the Long family, Leng Mion and Jiyu Shuang. Two Empty God Realm warriors. Long Ao had already sensed their strength. There were 5 realms of Empty God Realm, from lowest to highest. They were Empty God Realm, Spirit Focus Realm, Human God Realm, Earth God Realm and Heavenly God Realm. Even if they were Empty God Realm warriors, they could look down on the entire Dragon Sect and even the entire spirit region of the 9 states. Who is Long Ao? The two of them did not look at Long Haosha from the beginning. Because in their eyes, everyone present was not worthy of their attention. No one answered. Long Ao acted as if he did not hear them. Messengers, he is my grandson, Long Ao. May I know why the two of you are here? You're not qualified to know what we're talking about. After glaring fiercely, the two of them looked at Long Ao at the same time and said coldly, I called you just now, didn't you hear me? If you have something to say, say it. In fact, Long Ao had already guessed the purpose of the two envoys. If there was no accident, the two envoys should have come because the Long family wanted to summon him. It was precisely because of this that Long Ao became more and more confident. He knew very well that as long as he did not go to the Long family, the two of them would not dare to do anything to him. Looking at the young man in front of them, the two of them were stunned. They didn't think that he would dare to talk back to them. All of a sudden, the two supreme Dao warriors burst into laughter, as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. Because they were the guardians of the Long family, their status in the Long family was not low. All along, no one had dared to behave atrociously in front of them, acting recklessly. However, as Longao had guessed, the two envoys did not dare to do anything when the Long family wanted to summon him. Otherwise, they would have killed Longao just because of his disrespect. Longao, before coming, I have already heard that you are very arrogant. Now it seems that you are really arrogant, but I like it. Lung Mo and Jiyu Shuang laughed, which was rare to see. However, the hearts of the four people present skipped a beat because they could clearly feel the invisible murderous aura emanating from the two of them. The strength of the two supreme Dao warriors was needless to say. With the strength of the dragon sect, it was impossible to be a match for two supreme Dao warriors. If their ancestor, Long Batian, was still here, the two empty God Realm warriors would be a joke. Messengers, this time you are representing the Long family. I think you have something to say. Before the two of them spoke, Longao continued, since you are busy, so am I. Let's get straight to the point. Longao's tone and attitude made the two of them very unhappy, but they seemed to be very surprised. After all, in the Long family, even in other forces, no one dared to treat them like this. Nodding, Jiyu Shuang said, Longao, this time we are representing the Long family. Our purpose is very simple. As a branch of the Long family, the Long family is now officially informing you that in half a year, you must go to the Long family. Otherwise, not only you, but even the dragon sect will suffer the wrath and destruction of the Long family. The two supreme Dao warriors were definitely not exaggerating, because the strength of the Long family was there. As one of the most powerful forces in the continent, even the Martial Artists Alliance had to be wary of the Longao. One could imagine how terrifying the strength of the Long family was. Hearing the words of the two supreme Dao warriors, Long Haosha and the other two cursed in their hearts, but they did not dare to say anything. Longao was not surprised at all by this result. This time, the sudden intervention of the Martial Artists Alliance, Longao had already guessed that there must be a reason why the Nether Mansion did not deal with him. After thinking for a long time, he could only think of the Long family. Longao looked very indifferent. Messengers, in half a year, I will definitely go to the Long family. But I want to know, where is the Long family? Longao was very helpless, because even now, he did not know where the Long family was. The Long clan was divided into 9 levels. From lowest to highest, they were level 9 Long clan, level 8 Long clan, level 7 Long clan, level 6 Long clan, level 5 Long clan, level 4 Long clan, level 3 Long clan, level 2 Long clan and level 1 Long clan. The level 1 Long family was the so-called Long family. Longao had known a long time ago that the Long family would summon him sooner or later, but he did not expect it to drag on until now. At this moment, he finally understood why the Nether Mansion did not deal with him. If nothing unexpected happened, once he went to the Long family this time and was put in an important position by the Long family, not only would the Martial Artists Alliance not deal with him, they might even form an alliance with him and share the Jojo spirit region equally. If he went to the Long family this time and was killed by the Long family, or some other result, the Nether Mansion would undoubtedly be the first to deal with him. So you still don't know the position of the Long family. How sad. Disdain and mockery were written all over their faces, because as disciples of the Long family, they did not know the position of the Long family. It was simply laughable. However, the two had never thought about it. They had always lived in the Long family, and never thought that disciples of the Long family below level 4 would have the opportunity to go to the Long family. Therefore, the 4 of them cursed the 2 messengers in their hearts. Chapter 765. He despised them in his heart. But the 2 messengers did not talk much nonsense. After all, their purpose was to summon Longao on behalf of the Long family. Longao, we'll give you a month's arrangement. After a month, you'll leave the upper road. After half a year, You must arrive at the Long family. The two Supreme Dao warriors did not stay. Just as they were about to leave, a surge of Supreme Dao aura suddenly rose from their bodies and fiercely pressed down on Longao. In a short span of 3 seconds, the two Supreme Dao martial artists swaggered off. He breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, Longao resisted the suppression of their Supreme Dao aura and did not use the Qi of heaven and earth. The reason was very simple. Longao did not want to complicate matters. If he was alone, it would be easy to deal with. However, the current situation was different. He had his grandfather and others by his side. If the two of them went crazy, he would not be able to contend against the two Supreme Dao martial artists. Aoa, are you really going to the Long family? How could Longao not know the worries of his grandfather and others? But how could he not go? Longao was not a fool. This time, the Long family sent two Supreme Dao warriors to summon him. Once he refused or could not arrive at the Long family in half a year, he could totally guess that the Long family would definitely take action. If that was the case, how could the sect resist? The Long clan was not like the 4 major forces who could casually send out a few Supreme Dao martial artists and easily annihilate a sect. Because of this, Longao did not refuse at all and directly agreed. Grandfather, after half a year, I will definitely arrive at the Long family. In any case, there must be an end between me and the Long family. Long Haosha, Wang Yidao, and Mu Wanfeng were all old foxes. Of course, they knew what the Long family meant by summoning Longao. If there was no accident, this Long family would not bode well for Aoa. Long Haosha and others seemed to want to say something, but in the end, they found that they did not know what to say. Grandpa, don't worry. I'll be fine. Without continuing to dwell on this issue, Longao and the other 3 continued to discuss matters regarding the Dragon Sect. Stars dotted the night sky. On the summit of Longao Peak, Longao was also very surprised. He didn't know why Long Chen had suddenly come here. This time, Long Chen was able to smoothly pass through the purgatory space. Longao was also very happy from the bottom of his heart. Because he treated Long Chen as a true friend. Longao, the reason why I'm looking for you this time is to ask you, did the Longsha clan send 2 Supreme Dao martial artists over today? Hey! Longao was even more flabbergasted. He didn't know how Long Chen knew about this matter, because only a few people knew that the Long family had sent 2 Supreme Dao warriors to the sect. Since that was the case, how did Long Chen of the Long family, who was far away in the spirit realm of the 9 states, know about this? That's right. Today, the 2 messengers from the Long family did come to find me. They asked me to go to the Long family in half a year. Nodding, Long Chen said worriedly, Longao, I'll make it short. I have received orders from the Long family. Tomorrow, I will leave the 9 states and go to the Long family. From today onwards, I will be a disciple of the Long family. F***ck Longao cursed fiercely in his heart. He was not worried at all. Instead, he was happy for Long Chen, because he knew how big the gap was between the Long family and the 3rd-rank Long family. If Long Chen could really enter the Long family, it would be the most beneficial for Long Chen's cultivation to increase. Congratulations. Sigh, Longao, I believe you have already guessed that when the Long family summoned me, they also gave up on my family. If nothing unexpected happens, my family will be swallowed up by the Martial Artists Alliance sooner or later. However, I have no way of turning back. Longao did not say anything. He had also guessed what Long Chen had said. Now that things had come to this point, he did not know what to say. The meaning of the Long family was very clear. The entire 3rd-rank Long family, except for Long Chen, could be sacrificed. Although Longao did not know what the agreement between the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance was, the conditions offered by the Martial Artists Alliance were definitely good enough. Just as Long Chen had said, if he left this time, it meant that the 3rd-rank Longao would be swallowed up by the Martial Artists Alliance. There was no doubt about that. Longao, I will enter the Long family first. Don't worry, I will definitely open up a path for you. When the time comes, I will clearly understand the Long family. Many thanks. Longao was very moved. This kind of friend was truly worth making. Longao, do you understand the Tianwu continent? What did that mean? Longao did not know why Long Chen suddenly asked this question. Tianwu continent. He seemed to understand the Tianwu continent quite well. Thus, he said, I guess I do. What's going on? Helplessly shaking his head, Long Chen said, You have always lived in Scarlet Fire Town. It is not too much that you do not understand the Tianwu continent. Now, I will tell you about the Tianwu continent. Since Long Chen was like this, it seemed that the Tianwu continent was not as simple as he had imagined. Long Ao calmly sat there. He also wanted to hear the difference between the Tianwu continent that Long Chen spoke of and the one that he knew. Long Ao, I believe that you have always thought that the 9 provinces continent we live in is the Tianwu continent, right? That's right. There was no doubt about that. Since he was young, Long Ao was very clear about the structure of the continent. The Tianwu continent was divided into 2 large spirit regions. They were the ordinary spirit regions and the 9 provinces spirit regions. When the 2 spirit regions were added together, it was the 9 provinces continent. That was why the Tianwu continent was the 9 provinces continent and the 9 provinces continent was the Tianwu continent. However, Long Chen shook his head and smiled. 99% of the people in the 9 provinces continent think that the 9 provinces continent is the Tianwu continent. In reality, that is not the case. Long Chen, what do you mean? It's very simple. The 9 provinces continent we live in is only a fifth of the Tianwu continent. The entire Tianwu continent is divided into 5 large regions: the Eastern Prefecture, the Western Region, the Southern Sea, the Northern Plains, and the Central Tianwu continent. Only the Central Tianwu continent is the true Tianwu continent. Long Ao really didn't know what Long Chen had said. He had never thought that the 9 provinces continent he lived in was only a part of the martial heaven continent. Furthermore, it was only a fifth of it. If Long Chen hadn't personally said it, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Long Ao seemed to have guessed something. If the 9 provinces continent he lived in was only a part of the Tianwu continent, then wouldn't the Long family, the myriad beast sect, and the heaven and earth sect be in the central Tianwu continent? Although Long Ao knew the exact location of the Long family, he didn't know that the Long family was not in the 9 provinces continent, but in the central Tianwu continent. Chapter 766. In the world of the 9 states, the strongest forces are the East Royal City, the Long family in the west, the Netherworld Mansion in the south, and the Ethereal Palace in the north. Long Ao nodded. Of course, he knew this. But you don't know that even if the 4 great forces in the world of the 9 states joined forces, they would only be a third-rate force or even a fourth-rate force in the central continent. Regarding this point, Long Ao had already guessed it. If the Long family was not in the world of the 9 states but in the central continent, the central continent would definitely be much stronger than the world of the 9 states. If that was the case, didn't it mean that not only the Long family, but even the Martial Artists Alliance was in the central continent? Long Chen, tell me more about the Middle Sky Martial Continent. Long Ao was looking forward to learning about the Middle Sky Martial Continent. He had always wondered where the WN Shou sect, the Heaven and Earth sect, the Long family, and the Martial Artists Alliance that were above the 4 great forces were. Long Ao secretly scolded himself for being an idiot. Since the world of the 9 states was only divided into 2 spirit regions, these so-called superforces must be in other places. Long Chen nodded and said, according to legends, there are 10 superforces in the Middle Sky Martial Continent, known as the 10 Great Forces. 10 superforces. Although Long Ao had already guessed that the Middle Sky Martial Continent was very powerful, he still couldn't help but be shocked when he heard this. Long Ao, the 10 great forces in the Middle Sky Martial Continent are the Long family, the Dan Alliance, the Martial Artists Alliance, the WN Shou sect, the Heaven and Earth sect, the 5 Elements sect, the Wanzhan School, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, and the Black Heaven sect. Just as expected. The superforces that he knew were all in the 10 great forces, such as the Long family, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Heaven and Earth sect, and the WAN Shou sect. Long Chen, among the 10 superpowers, who is the strongest and who is the weakest? I don't know, but among the 10 sects, the strength of the 4 sects is not as strong as that of the first 6. The remaining sects should be the Long family, the Alchemy Guild, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Wan Shou sect, the Heaven and Earth sect, and the 5 Elements sect. If you want to say who is the strongest, it should be the Long family. Why is that? You should know better than me that the Long family has the help of the Dragon Clan. There's no need to talk about their strength and background. Longao nodded. He didn't know about this either. Long Chen and Longao chatted for an entire night before Long Chen got up and left. After a night of talking, Longao finally knew the true secret of the Sky Martial continent. The 9 prefectures were simply a drop in the ocean for the entire Sky Martial continent. Because in the middle of the Sky Martial continent, any random superpower that came out could easily destroy the 9 prefectures. The Sky Martial continent was divided into 5 major continents: the Eastern region, the Western region, the Southern Sea, the Northern Plains, and the Middle Sky Martial continent. Longao was very clear in his heart that if nothing unexpected happened, the South Sea of the 5 major plates should be the so-called Outer Sea. Until now, he still didn't know if the Outer Sea's true strength was comparable to the 10 superpowers. 1 clan, 2 alliances, 3 sects, and 4 sects. The 10 superpowers in the Martial Heaven continent were the Long family, the Alchemy Guild, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Wan Shou sect, the Heaven and Earth sect, the 5 Elements sect, the Wanzhan School, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, and the Black Heaven sect. Long Chen had already gone to the Long family. It seemed that the Long family had really chosen to give up on the Long family of the 9 prefectures. It wouldn't be long before the Martial Artists Alliance took action and completely annihilated the Imperial City, the Long family, and the Ethereal Palace. Longao didn't blame the Martial Artists Alliance at all. Longao himself knew that this world was a dog-eat-dog world. It was the law of the jungle. If you weren't strong enough, even if you were annihilated, it wouldn't be a big deal. 1 month's time. According to the 2 messengers of the Long family, he had a month's time to prepare before he had to set off. Because the Long family needed at least 4 months to travel from the 9 prefectures to the Middle continent. The Long family had already made their attitude clear. If he couldn't reach the Long family within the stipulated time, the Long family would do their best to deal with him and the Dragon sect. Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew very well that going to the Long family at this moment pointed to disaster. What should he do? Shrugging his shoulders helplessly, he stood at the peak of the Longao mountain. Longao stood alone quietly, thinking about all kinds of things in his mind. This time, he was going to the Long family, which was the so-called middle continent of the Martial Heaven continent. Other than dealing with the Long family, Longao had another important goal, which was to find Yu Yin. Now, Longao already knew what the mysterious sect behind Yu Yin was. Without a doubt, it was the so-called Martial Artists Alliance. Although he knew clearly that the strength of the Martial Artists Alliance wasn't something he could contend with, for Yu Yin, he had to give it a try, regardless of whether it was a mountain of blades or a sea of flames. He stood quietly for the entire night. The wind blew, and the clouds moved. The 9 prefectures continent. The Nether Mansion dominated the 9 prefectures' spirit domain. The Imperial City, the Rank 3 Long family, and the Ethereal Palace all became affiliated sects of the Nether Mansion. As for the 9 prefectures, the Dragon sect was still the overlord. However, everyone knew that if the Nether Mansion wanted to, they could enter the 9 prefectures at any time. But for some reason, the Nether Mansion didn't make a move on the 9 prefectures. In the following month, Longao did his best to deal with the Dragon sect. The old ancestor had entered the reincarnation cycle, and the Dragon sect no longer had any super experts guarding it. Only his grandfather and the Fire Qilin were left. If a strong enemy attacked, the consequences would be unimaginable. As for the thousands of divine Dao inheritances, it would take a long time to completely refine them. Longao did a rough calculation. It would take at least 3 to 5 years to completely refine the divine Dao inheritances and become thousands of divine Dao martial artists. For the average, it would take 10 years. For the worst, it would take dozens of years. At this point, Longao had no choice but to take one step at a time. Spirit domain of the 9 prefectures, Long family's main hall. More than 100 people entered the purgatory space, and only 30 came out. Long Yang and the others were furious, but they didn't dare to say anything. Old ancestor, the Nether Mansion's goal is clear. They want to take advantage of the martial artists' alliance behind them to devour us. What should we do? The Nether Mansion had already dominated the 9 prefectures' spirit domain. Although the 3 great forces had become affiliated with the Nether Mansion, everyone knew that once the Nether Mansion stabilized, they would definitely deal with the 3 great forces. The Nether Mansion understood the principle of cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots. The Martial Artists Alliance wasn't afraid, but the Nether Mansion couldn't. After all, the Nether Mansion couldn't guarantee that the Martial Artists Alliance would support them forever. If one day, the Martial Artists Alliance didn't care, who would be the overlord of the 9 prefectures? Long Yang knew what Long Maoan was worried about. He thought for a while and said, "We'll talk about this later. I'm sure that the Long family has chosen to abandon us." Chapter 767. Hearing the old ancestor's words, Long Maoan was shocked. In fact, Long Maoan had already guessed that the Long family had given up on them. "Old ancestor, did the Long family summon Chen this time to deal with us?" "That should be the case." "Long family." Long Yang cursed in his heart, but there was nothing he could do. Long family's strength was right there. Going against the Long family was simply courting death. "Old ancestor, what should we do?" "Let me think about it." Not only the Long family, but even the Imperial City and Ethereal Palace were having a headache in this situation. Because the 3 families knew clearly that if there was a slight mistake, they would be doomed eternally. 1 month later, Longao left the Dragon Sect alone under the gaze of everyone in the Dragon Sect. He headed to the Sky Martial continent alone. According to the location given to him by Long Chen and the 2 envoys, Longao did not delay and headed to the Sky Martial continent as fast as he could. After a month of continuous consolidation, Longao's cultivation had finally stabilized. According to Long Fu, he could continue to devour the power of the flame crystal, which was the so-called 2% power. Longao roughly calculated that if he were to devour the 2% power of the flame crystal now, he should be able to break through from the peak Saint King realm to the Saint Emperor realm when he reached the Long family in the Sky Martial continent. Such a cultivation speed was already enough to look down on many people. After 3 months of rapid travel, Longao finally left the 9 states continent and entered the border of the Sky Martial continent. It was 2 months faster than he had expected. It was also because of this that Longao was not in a hurry to go to the Long family. Instead, he was prepared to understand the so-called Sky Martial continent. After a few days of questioning, Longao had a rough understanding of the Sky Martial continent. The Central Martial Heaven continent was the strongest of the 5 major continents. That was especially true here. There were 10 first-rate powers, second-rate powers, third-rate powers, fourth-rate powers, and fifth-rate powers. According to this calculation, Longao helplessly thought that the 4 great powers of the 9 prefectures could only be considered third-rate powers on the Martial Heaven continent. They might even be inferior to third-rate powers. It could be imagined just how terrifying the Martial Heaven continent was. Sky Martial continent, the easternmost region. There was a continuous chain of mountain peaks, one after another. At a glance, it looked like a huge coiling dragon. The Supreme Sky Sect was only a 4th-rate power in the Tianwu continent. It was not even comparable to the 4 great powers in the 9 prefectures. The strongest people in the sect were sage emperors. The clear sky peak stretched for several miles. Numerous huge mountain peaks were linked together, forming a natural barrier. As the highest peak of the Clear Sky Sect, which was also the headquarters, the Clear Sky Peak was like a hidden dragon soaring into the sky. From afar, the entire Clear Sky Peak looked like it was covered in white clouds. It was very beautiful and intimidating at the same time. Longao looked at the Clear Sky Peak before him. He seemed to have comprehended something as he stood there in a daze. At this moment, there was a huge crowd in front of the Clear Sky Peak. There was a sea of people as far as the eye could see, forming a dense black mass. It was unknown if Longao's luck was too good. When he passed by the Supreme Sky Sect this time, he happened to encounter the annual assessment of the Supreme Sky Sect. Anyone who passed the assessment could enter the Supreme Sky Sect and become a disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect. In front of the Clear Sky Peak, there were tens of thousands of people lining up, waiting to take the test. Longao had never seen such a scene before. Even the 4 great powers of the 9 prefectures did not have such a lineup. It turned out that, although the Clear Sky Sect was only a 4th-rate sect, it was the most powerful sect within a 100-mile radius. Everyone wanted to enter the Clear Sky Sect and become a disciple of the Clear Sky Sect. Therefore, the annual examination of the Clear Sky Sect became the biggest event within a 100-mile radius. However, very few people could pass the test every year. Out of the tens of thousands of people who took part, less than 1% could successfully pass the test and enter the Clear Sky Sect. It was easy to imagine how difficult the test of the Clear Sky Sect was. Damn it, I failed again. I have already taken the test 3 times. I don't know if I will ever have the chance to enter the Clear Sky Sect and become a disciple. Old Guo, don't be disappointed. As long as we persevere, I don't believe that we can't pass the test. If we can't pass this year, we can try again next year. I firmly believe that one day, we will pass the test and become a disciple of the Clear Sky Sect. You are right. We have to persevere. Old Guo sighed deeply. After Longao finished comprehending, he suddenly heard the conversation of the 2 men beside him and felt touched. Perhaps it was because of his perseverance, Longao called out to the 2. He went straight to the point and asked, "Sirs, I am new here and would like to take the test of the Clear Sky Sect. May I know what the test is about?" Both of them weren't too old, and they were very amiable. It looks like the Clear Sky Sect is becoming more and more famous. The 2 were very clear that the more famous the Clear Sky Sect was, the more people would come to take the test. If this continued, it would be increasingly difficult to enter the Clear Sky Sect. Brother, the test of the Clear Sky Sect is very simple. There are only 2 stages. The first stage is to erupt with your full power in a certain environment. From there, it will test your talent and potential. The second stage is to cross the Clear Sky Bridge. Brother, I have to remind you that less than 1 in 1,000 people can successfully pass the second stage. Before Longao could say anything, the 2 sighed deeply and turned to leave quickly. It looked like they were preparing to continue training hard. According to the original intention, Longao wanted to help the 2 people a bit. However, after thinking about it, even if he helped the 2 now, what about in the future? Persevere. As long as the 2 of them persevered, Longao firmly believed that the 2 of them would become disciples of the Clear Sky Sect in the future. Longao shrugged helplessly. He did not intend to stay any longer. To the Clear Sky Sect, he was just a passerby. He only had one goal, to reach the Long family in 2 months. As for everything else, he could just put them aside. Master, you can leave later. Just as Longao was about to leave, he suddenly heard Long Fu's voice. Out of curiosity, he asked, "Long Fu, what happened?" Long Fu rarely called out to him. Indeed, it was as Xiao Chen had expected. "Master, I suddenly felt a mysterious energy in the mountain peak in front. If I am not wrong, it should be that thing." "Long Fu, speak more clearly. What exactly is that thing?" Of course, Longao knew where the mountain peak Long Fu was referring to was the Clear Sky Peak, the headquarters of the Clear Sky Sect. This was why Longao was very curious. He did not know what the thing that Long Fu mentioned was. The space-time wheel. Chapter 768. Space-time wheel? What was that? Longao was clear that for Long Fu to value something so highly, it was obvious what it was. "Long Fu, you mean for me to find the space-time wheel?" "Master, you don't know, but the space-time wheel is a legendary existence. Back then, the old master had obtained it but lost it. I really didn't expect that the space-time wheel would be here. Truly, one can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Long Fu, can I ask first, What ability does the space-time wheel have? Longao was curious and could not wait to find out. Long Fu did not hide anything. Master, the space-time wheel is comparable to the Chaos Stone Tablet. F***CK. Just as Long Fu spoke, Longao immediately cursed and scolded fiercely. That was because he knew what the Chaos Stone Tablet meant. There were a total of 12 Chaos Stone Tablets in the world and they were the strongest weapons. If the space-time wheel was comparable to the Chaos Stone Tablets, that was too scary. If that was the case, no matter what happened, no matter what difficulties he faced, he had to obtain the space-time wheel. Master, the space-time wheel that the old master obtained back then was damaged. But even so, as long as you are in danger, you can use the space-time wheel to reverse the universe and change the space-time. Longao did not seem to understand. He did not know how strong the space-time wheel was. Master, I'll make it simpler. Lin Fan nodded. The space-time wheel, once opened forcefully, will reverse the space-time and reverse the universe. At that time, you can even return to the past. But this is dangerous. If you're not careful, you can be killed by space-time. Hearing about the power of the space-time wheel, Longao was shocked. Then, he was overjoyed. Master, with your current strength, you can't forcefully open the space-time wheel. Even if you borrow my power to open it, the chances of you being killed by space-time are high. So, Master, you have to promise me that even if you obtain the space-time wheel, you can't use it casually. Nodding his head, Longao knew that Long Fu was doing this for his own good. After asking around in the Supreme Sky Sect, Longao learned that the strongest cultivator in the Supreme Sky Sect was the Sage Emperor. If he tried to force his way into Supreme Sky Peak to search for the so-called space-time wheel, he would definitely run into trouble. After thinking about it, Longao decided to become a disciple of the Clear Sky Sect first. That way, he could openly enter the Clear Sky Peak to search for the space-time wheel. In any case, there were still 2 months before he would head to the Long family. It was more than enough time to search for the space-time wheel. Thinking of this, Longao walked towards Great Heaven Peak. There were 2 tests in the Supreme Sky Sect's test. The first test was to bring out one's greatest potential in a specific space. The second test was to cross the Haotian Bridge. Out of tens of thousands of people, only a few could pass. One could imagine how horrifying the 2 tests were. Longao suppressed his strength and aura completely. With his strength, if he exposed it, he would probably scare everyone here. However, based on the Supreme Sky Sect's strength, a Peak Sage King could already become a protector of the sect. If Longao revealed himself, he would not need to take the test and would be recruited directly. However, Longao did not want to make it public. To the Supreme Sky Sect, he was just a passing traveler. If not for the space-time wheel, he would not have entered the Supreme Sky Sect at all. On the first day, it was not Longao's turn. After all, there were too many people. On the second day, he waited for 6 hours before it was Longao's turn. However, at this moment, a mocking laugh rang out. A young man who looked to be in his mid-20s walked over and pushed Longao out. However, he did not push Longao away. Zhu Shao exclaimed in surprise, but he did not take the other party seriously. Both of you, I would like to register. Can I take the test first? Zhu Shao, your uncle is an elder of the Black Wind Valley. You should go to the Black Wind Valley. Why did you come to the Supreme Sky Sect? The examiner was very curious. Many people had heard of Zhu Shao's name before. Firstly, Zhu Shao's talent was not bad. He was a martial artist in the One-Line Sky. Secondly, Zhu Shao had an uncle who was an elder of the Black Wind Valley. The Black Wind Valley's strength was above the Supreme Sky Sect. This was because it was rumored that there was an Emperor Realm martial artist in the Black Wind Valley. You don't have to worry about this. I'm just asking if you agree to let me take the test first. This. I don't agree. Just as the 2 examiners were thinking, many dissatisfied voices came from behind. After all, Zhu Shao cut the queue and gave people the feeling that he was going through the back door. Many people present had been waiting for a long time. However, before the crowd could react, Zhu Shao's subordinates had already gone up and slapped them. If this was not the Supreme Sky Sect's territory, Zhu Shao would have dared to kill them. Shameless. Who are you calling shameless? You. Zhu Shao glared at the youth in front of him. Just as he was about to make a move, a cold snort came from afar. Immediately after, under the protection of many disciples, a girl in pale yellow clothes appeared. She had an oval face, willowy eyebrows, cherry lips, and a stunning figure. She was simply like a fairy that had descended to the mortal world. Yang Qian'er was the daughter of the Supreme Sky Sect's master. She was also considered a genius beauty of the Supreme Sky Sect. At the age of 15, she had already reached the pinnacle of the one-line sky. She was only one step away from breaking through to the evolution realm. Seeing Yang Qian'er's appearance, Longao instantly understood what was going on. Zhu Shao's uncle was an elder in the Black Wind Valley. Under normal circumstances, Zhu Shao should have entered the Black Wind Valley and become a disciple. However, Zhu Shao came to the Supreme Sky Sect for a very simple reason. It was because of this girl. Qian'er, it's me. Without waiting for Zhu Shao to finish his words, young Qian'er said unhappily, Zhu Shao, this isn't the Black Wind Valley. You can't do whatever you want. If you want to enter my Supreme Sky Sect, you have to follow our rules. Otherwise, get lost. Young Qian'er's attitude was very cold. Even so, Zhu Shao still had a pitiful look on his face. He was simply shameless. Qian'er, I'm just a little impatient. Oh right, I almost forgot. If I'm a Xiantian realm cultivator, can I skip the assessment and enter the Supreme Sky Sect directly? Young Qian'er hated Zhu Shao, but there was nothing she could do about it. Zhu Shao's backing was very powerful. Even the Supreme Sky Sect didn't dare to casually provoke the Black Wind Valley. Otherwise, if an ordinary force dared to be so arrogant, they would have died countless times already. It was also because of this that Zhu Shao was fearless. I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen someone as shameless as you. You look quite creative, but I'm afraid you're just a beast. Sigh, people like you might as well die early and reincarnate. Chapter 769. You dare scold me? If Zhu Shao continued to endure being scolded like this, he might as well die. Stop. Zhu Shao, where do you think this is? If you keep doing this, scram. Before Zhu Shao could finish, Yang Qian'er continued, you're right. As long as you're a Xiantian expert, you can enter the Clear Sky Sect without taking the test. Yang Qian'er cursed inside. She had no idea who had set up this rule. The Clear Sky Sect had a rule that as long as you were a Xiantian expert, you could enter the Clear Sky Sect without any conditions. Brat, I'll remember this. I hope you don't pass the test. Otherwise, I'll be waiting for you in the Clear Sky Sect. Zhu Shao didn't stay behind and left with his subordinates. He didn't even place Zhu Shao in his eyes. Whether it was Zhu Shao or his uncle, they weren't even worth a fart in front of him. What's your name? Longao. Longao was definitely an all-powerful figure in the 9 prefectures. Everyone knew of his name, Longao. However, no one knew of Longao in the Martial Heaven continent. No matter how one put it, the 9 prefectures continent and the Martial Heaven continent weren't on the same level. Nodding, Yang Qian'er said, if I'm not mistaken, you should be a Xiantian expert, right? Since things had already reached this stage, Longao didn't hide anything. That's right. Yang Qian'er smiled. Yang Qian'er was a supreme beauty, and her smile was enough to mesmerize tens of thousands of people. The surrounding people all looked at her like perverts. Longao had no choice but to admit that this girl was a rare beauty. Even compared to Aoshue and Yu Yin, she wasn't inferior. I'm Yang Qian'er. If you encounter any trouble in the sect, feel free to look for me. After saying that, Yang Qian'er left with her people. Brat, I don't care who you are, but you'd best stay away from Qian'er. Otherwise. Song Li snorted disdainfully. Longao shrugged helplessly. He had not entered the Supreme Sky Sect yet, and he had already caused so much trouble. If he entered, wouldn't there be even more trouble? Although Longao was not afraid of any trouble, he was still prepared to find the space-time wheel and leave the Supreme Sky Sect. Just now, Yang Qian'er had said that Longao was a Xiantian martial artist, so he didn't need to pass the test to enter the Clear Sky sect and become a disciple. The Supreme Sky sect was divided into inner and outer sect disciples. The classification of disciples was very simple. Those who had not broken through to the Xiantian realm could only enter the outer sect and become an outer sect disciple. Once they broke through to the Xiantian realm, they would become an inner sect disciple. Whether it was Zhu Shao or Longao, they were both Xiantian realm martial artists. Therefore, when they entered the Clear Sky sect, they directly entered the inner sect and became inner sect disciples. As soon as he entered the inner sect, Longao did not even have the time to look for the spacetime wheel before more than 10 people came in front of him and stopped him. It was none other than Zhu Shao. Ever since he entered the Supreme Sky sect, Zhu Shao had been keeping an eye on Longao. Since he was young, he had never been scolded like this before. This was simply like pulling a tooth out of a tiger's mouth, provoking the lion. Longao, weren't you very arrogant earlier? Why are you so soft now? Are you regretting it now? Zhu Shao laughed mischievously. In his opinion, as long as he did not offend the Clear Sky sect's inner sect disciples, he could deal with these disciples who just entered the sect, regardless of whether they were inner sect disciples or outer sect disciples. The Supreme Sky sect would not deal with him for a disciple who just entered, right? As the saying went, even if one did not give face to the monk, one had to give face to the Buddha. Zhu Shao's uncle was an elder of the Black Wind Valley, a sage emperor expert. Idiot. Longao did not want to waste time. He had already become a Clear Sky sect disciple and could openly enter the Supreme Sky Peak to look for the so-called spacetime wheel. As for the person before him, if this were not the Supreme Sky sect, he would not have given Zhu Shao any chance to speak. You are seeking death. Kill this person. At Zhu Shao's command, the dozen or so people behind him swarmed forward. It was obvious that they had the intention to kill. Longao's face instantly turned gloomy. He had always had a principle, which was to not offend others if they did not offend him. If someone offended him, he would return the favor twofold. Originally, Longao thought that as long as he was in the Supreme Sky sect, he would not be willing to take action unless he had no other choice. After all, he only had one goal in entering the Supreme Sky sect, and that was to obtain the spacetime wheel. However, under the current situation, it was impossible for him not to make a move. Zhu Shao's dozen or so people were all Hutian realm cultivators. In front of Longao, they were nothing but a joke. Longao stood still, but in reality, he had already moved. However, his speed was too fast for anyone to see. In the next second, the dozen or so people all fell to the ground, screaming miserably. They looked like they were in extreme pain. Seeing this, Zhu Shao was shocked. He never thought that this young man would dare to make a move. Moreover, he was a Xiantian realm cultivator. As a one-line sky cultivator, Zhu Shao naturally did not put Longao in his eyes. Mother **K, I really don't know which prostitute gave birth to a bastard like you. You are courting death. Longao did not care about ordinary insults at all. In his opinion, Zhu Shao was not worthy of him making a move. But now, Zhu Shao dared to insult Longao's mother. The result was already determined. Longao was furious and murderous. Before Zhu Shao could react, Longao's body had already moved. In the next second, a scream was heard. Then, Zhu Shao was punched to the ground by Longao. Longao looked like he was really angry this time. His fists smashed out continuously, but the strength was just right. Anyway, he would not be able to kill Zhu Shao in a short time. Just like this, Longao's punch after punch landed on Zhu Shao's body continuously like raindrops. In the beginning, Zhu Shao could still let out a few screams. But as Longao continued to smash him, Zhu Shao fainted in a short while. Longao, stop immediately. Yang Qian'er, who had received the notice, and the enforcement team arrived in time. Everyone was shocked to see Longao still smashing Zhu Shao. Under normal circumstances, the Clear Sky sect did not care about the fights between disciples. But a life and death battle had to be settled in the life and death arena. In particular, Zhu Shao's identity was not ordinary. If anything happened to Zhu Shao in the Clear Sky sect, Zhu Shao's uncle would not let the matter rest. The Clear Sky sect was not afraid of Zhu Shao's uncle. Instead, they were afraid of Black Wind Valley because Black Wind Valley's strength was above the Clear Sky sect. Because of this, Yang Qian'er and the rest could not understand why Longao was so bold to beat up Zhu Shao in broad daylight when he just entered the sect. Chapter 770. Seeing that Longao was still unwilling to stop, Yang Qian'er and the rest panicked. Everyone present hated Zhu Shao, but Zhu Shao's status was still there. If anything happened to Zhu Shao, not only Longao, but even the sect would be implicated. This was no small matter. Stop him. Yang Qian'er had a good impression of Longao. If it wasn't a last resort, she wouldn't be willing to do this. However, this matter had to be resolved. In other words, nothing must happen to Zhu Shao. There were many law enforcement teams in the Clear Sky sect that specialized in catching disciples who broke the sect rules. This time, Yang Qian'er brought a total of 10 law enforcement team members, and each of them was a transformation martial artist. Even any one of them could easily deal with a Xiantian martial artist, let alone 10 of them. If it was any other time, Longao would definitely stop. After all, this was the Clear Sky sect, and he had to give face to the Buddha. However, at this moment, Longao was clearly enraged. Therefore, no matter who it was, Longao wouldn't give face to them, even if it was the emperor himself. Get lost. With Longao's powerful strength, it seemed to be an ordinary palm, but in fact, its power was incomparably powerful. They originally thought that this matter would be resolved smoothly with the 10 law enforcement team members. But what was the result? An inconceivable scene appeared before everyone's eyes. The 10 transformation law enforcement team members who had just fled were easily sent flying by Longao's palm strike. They were like kites with their strings cut as they flew back fiercely. Although Longao wasn't willing to let others interfere, he was still rational. Therefore, he didn't injure the 10 people. Otherwise, with his strength, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill the 10 people. Yang Qian'er was completely dumbfounded when she saw the scene that had just happened. Although she was only a one-line sky martial artist, as the daughter of the master of the Clear Sky sect, Yang Qian'er could be said to be experienced and knowledgeable. She was 100% sure that Longao wasn't a Xiantian martial artist, but a transformation martial artist. Even if he was a transformation martial artist, he wouldn't be one who had just broken through. At the very least, he should be a sovereign personage or even an earthly sovereign. He had just entered the sect, yet he had already reached such heights. In the past examinations, this kind of thing rarely happened. Every time such a disciple appeared, the Clear Sky sect would focus on nurturing them. The reason was simple. To be able to break through the metamorphosis realm alone, one's talent and potential were needless to say. Moreover, such a disciple had a high starting point and could achieve twice the result with half the effort. Yang Qian'er was extremely anxious because it wasn't worth it to lose a talent like Longao for Zhu Shao. What should he do? Even dozens of metamorphosis realm martial artists were unable to pull Longao apart. Yang Qian'er was very clear in her heart that she could only ask for help from the protectors or elders. But once the protectors and elders came, things wouldn't be so simple. With Longao's strength, he only needed one punch to kill Zhu Shao easily. However, Longao's rationality overcame his impulse in the end. He knew that once he smashed Zhu Shao to death, he would be able to leave. However, what about the Clear Sky sect? Longao wasn't willing to implicate the Clear Sky sect. Just as Zhu Shao was about to die, Longao finally stopped. Take your young master away. Go back and tell him to keep a low profile. Otherwise, he won't be so lucky every time. The dozen subordinates who were beaten to the point of pissing their pants didn't dare to hesitate. They picked up their young master and left in a hurry, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Longao, you were too reckless this time. Looking at Zhu Shao, who had already left, Yang Qian'er sighed deeply in her heart. Although Longao didn't kill Zhu Shao this time, Zhu Shao's injuries weren't light. Would Zhu Shao let this matter go? Some things can be tolerated, but some things can't. Longao didn't continue speaking to Yang Qian'er. He also turned and left. He only had one goal in entering the Clear Sky sect this time, and that was to find the so-called spacetime wheel. As for the grudge with Zhu Xiao, Longao didn't take it to heart. Just who are you? Although young Qian was very young, she was even more wily than an ordinary old fox. After this matter, she already knew that Longao wasn't an ordinary person. Could he be a spy sent by another sect? Without the slightest hesitation, young Qian immediately sent people to investigate Longao's identity. However, although Longao was famous in the 9 prefectures, he was just an ordinary person in the martial heaven continent. Because of this, it wasn't easy for young Qian to find out Longao's true identity. After entering the Clear Sky sect, which was the Clear Sky Peak, Longao immediately connected to the Dragon Seal. Getting straight to the point, Longao asked, "Long Fu, I've already entered the Clear Sky Peak. Where is the spacetime wheel?" Longao was looking forward to the spacetime wheel. According to Long Fu, the spacetime wheel could reverse heaven and earth, change spacetime, and return to the past from the present. Although he trusted Long Fu, such a thing was truly unbelievable. "Master, I sensed it just now. The spacetime wheel fell here, and it's hidden very well. Although I can sense the general location, it's still a bit difficult to find the exact location." Fuck. Longao cursed inside. He had entered with great difficulty, but now Long Fu was saying that he couldn't pinpoint the exact location. What a pain in the ass. However, Master, give me a day. At this time tomorrow, I'll be able to sense the exact location in 1 day. Since things had already reached this stage, Longao could only nod in agreement. 1 day was neither long nor short. In any case, since he had already entered the Clear Sky sect, Longao was prepared to walk around and see what was different between the sects of the martial heaven continent and the sects of the 9 prefectures. It went without saying that the Clear Sky Peak's aura was truly magnificent. Just standing on the Clear Sky Peak made him feel like he was in heaven and earth. 5-element heaven swallowing art. After walking around for a while, Longao felt extremely bored. Just as he was preparing to cultivate, Longao's heart suddenly stirred. Longao was somewhat surprised. He quickly circulated the 5-elemental heaven swallowing art, especially the wood elemental art. For some reason, he suddenly felt that there was a very strong wood elemental energy crazily enveloping the entire Supreme Sky sect. Longao was very clear that an ordinary person would not be able to sense this wood elemental energy. The main reason Xiao Chen could sense it was because he cultivated the 5-element heaven swallowing art. This was especially so for the wood elemental art. This feeling was even stronger. Longao rejoiced in his heart. Of the 5-element heaven swallowing art, he had already comprehended the fire elemental art and the earth elemental art. As for the remaining 3, who knew when he would be able to comprehend them? This was a rare opportunity. How could Longao give it up so easily? Chapter 771. Then, he stood up and stretched his body. Following the wood element power that he sensed, Longao did not hesitate at all and walked towards the southwest direction. As expected, Longao found a tree that possessed a powerful wood elemental power in a remote area of the Clear Sky Peak. Longao could clearly sense that the wood element energy in this tree was very powerful. He could use this tree to sense the wood elemental art. Clear Sky Sect. Zhu Xiao was half crippled and even his Dantian was crippled. As Zhu Xiao's uncle, Zhu Chuan was furious when he heard the news. He immediately left the Black Wind Valley and came to the Clear Sky sect to denounce them. The Black Wind Valley was a third-rate faction and had a great emperor overseeing it. Be it their foundation or strength, they were far superior to the Clear Sky sect. This time, Zhu Chuan didn't come alone. He even invited the son of the Black Wind Valley Lord. Zhu Chuan's intention was simple. If he was alone, the Clear Sky sect might not give him face. But with the entire Black Wind Valley, the situation was completely different. Many people in the Clear Sky sect were shocked by the sudden arrival of the Black Wind Valley's young lord, Kong Feng, and elder Zhu Chuan. But a portion of them knew what was going on. Clear Sky sect, main hall. The master of the Clear Sky sect, young Dingtian, and the law-enforcing elder, Zhao Yu, sat at the main seat. Both of them didn't have a good expression. In the main hall, apart from young Qian, there were 20 to 30 inner sect disciples standing at the left and right sides. At this moment, Kong Feng and Zhu Chuan walked in. Kong Feng bowed and said, "Master Yang, my father asked me to send you his regards." Yang Dingtian looked down on the Black Wind Valley in his heart. But no matter what, the Black Wind Valley's strength was there for all to see. Yang Dingtian smiled and nodded, "Many thanks. When you return, send my regards to your father. Ask your sister." In fact, Kong Feng didn't even put the Clear Sky sect in his eyes. It was very simple. In Kong Feng's opinion, as long as the Black Wind Valley was willing, they could eliminate the Clear Sky sect at any time. It was because of this that he couldn't understand why his father wasn't willing to deal with the Clear Sky sect. "Thank you, Master." At this moment, the enforcement elder who was standing on the left side of young Dingtian, who was also the number 2 figure in the Clear Sky sect, Elder Zhao Yu, suddenly spoke, "Young Valley Lord, may I know why you have come to the Clear Sky sect?" Young Dingtian and Zhao Yu didn't know about Zhu Shao's matter. After all, one of them was the master while the other was the enforcement elder. It could be said that they had a myriad of matters to attend to every day. How could they have the time to bother about such trivial matters? Kong Feng didn't want to waste any more time and roughly explained the ins and outs of the matter. After listening to the entire story, both Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu's complexion didn't look good. The two of them never expected that a disciple who had just entered the sect would actually dare to cripple Zhu Shao. Were the new disciples so strong now? Of course, the two of them wouldn't listen to Kong Feng's one-sided story. They called for the enforcers to understand the whole story. After a while, their faces became even gloomier. The enforcers told them that not only did Longao cripple Zhu Shao, but he also didn't listen to the persuasion and made a move on the enforcement team. What did this mean? But the enforcement team was a subordinate of the enforcement elder and was in charge of the sect's matters. For so many years, no one dared to make a move on the enforcement team. They simply didn't place the enforcement elder in their eyes. At this moment, Zhao Yu's complexion was extremely gloomy and was as unsightly as it could get. "Men, bring me Longao." Seeing that her father was truly enraged, Yang Qianna was shocked. She didn't know why, but she had a favorable impression of this person. Furthermore, Yang Qianna had always believed that Longao crippled Zhu Shao in the name of eliminating evil. He shouldn't be convicted. But since the matter had already reached this stage, Yang Qianna was very clear that no matter what, she couldn't let anything happen to Longao. Otherwise, who would dare to stand up for justice in the future? "Father, I will go and look for Longao." Yang Dingtian was very surprised when he saw his daughter standing out. But he didn't think too much about it. He nodded and waved his hand. His intention was very clear. "Qianna, it's me." He couldn't be bothered with Kong Feng. As the number 1 beauty within 1,000 miles, Yang Qianna had countless pursuers. But there were very few people that could catch Yang Qianna's eyes. Clear Sky Sect, Inner Sect Backyard. Longao had already become an inner sect disciple and naturally had his own place. It had been 3 days since he entered the sect, but Longao hadn't gone out and was concentrating on his cultivation. Creak. The door was pushed open fiercely as Yang Qianna rushed in with an anxious expression. She went straight to the point and said, "Longao, you are in big trouble." Subsequently, Yang Qianna used her fastest speed to roughly explain the matter of Kong Feng and Zhu Chuan coming to find trouble. After listening to it, Longao wasn't surprised at all because he had already guessed it. Previously, after crippling Zhu Shao, if there were no accidents, Zhu Shao's backer, Black Wind Valley's elder Zhu Chuan would come. But he never expected that the Black Wind Valley's young Valley Lord would come personally. It seemed like Zhu Chuan didn't have a high position in the Black Wind Valley. Otherwise, Kong Feng wouldn't have come to help. "Longao, how are you going to deal with this?" Before Longao could speak, Yang Qianna sighed deeply and continued, "No matter what, you are here to eliminate evil. It's not worth it to get into trouble. How about this? You leave first, and I'll help you deal with the rest." Xiao Chen was somewhat astonished. The more young Chenna acted like this, the more Longao couldn't leave. He didn't want to put this matter on young Chenna and implicate her. Furthermore, although he had been in the Supreme Sky Sect for 3 days, he still hadn't found the spacetime wheel. The reason was simple. Long Fu, who was originally confident that he could find the spacetime wheel in a day, couldn't determine its location for some reason. Longao smiled and said, "Many thanks, but I will deal with this matter myself." Without giving young Chenna any chance to speak, Longao left the courtyard and walked towards the Supreme Sky Sect's main hall. Young Chenna shrugged her shoulders helplessly. She didn't expect Longao to be so stubborn. She had no choice but to follow him. Main hall. Longao had just stepped in when he felt a horrifying murderous aura that pressed down on him. There was no need to ask, as he had already guessed that the middle-aged man sitting on the second seat on the left was Zhu Shao's uncle, Zhu Chuan, who was also the Black Wind Valley's elder. Master, elder. Of course, Longao knew who the Clear Sky Sect patriarch, Yang Dingtian, and the Clear Sky Sect's enforcement elder, Zhao Yu were. They were the two strongest individuals in the Clear Sky Sect. Putting aside their strength, just their aura alone wasn't something that ordinary people could compare with. Chapter 772. You are Longao? Longao nodded and didn't say anything. Chimph, Longao, let me ask you. 3 days ago, were you the one who crippled Zhu Shao? Hearing Zhao Yu's unfriendly tone, Longao was a little unhappy. No matter what, he was still a disciple of the Clear Sky Sect. As the enforcement elder of the Clear Sky Sect, it was a little inexcusable for him to stand on Zhao Yu's side instead of speaking up for him. Since the matter had already reached this stage, Longao didn't hide anything. After all, many people had already seen how he crippled Zhu Shao 3 days ago. That's right. I did it. Do you know your crime? Hearing this, Longao smiled helplessly and asked back, I would like to ask the enforcement elder, what crime did I commit? Let's not talk about Zhu Shao first. First, you actually disobeyed the master. According to the sect's rules, just this point alone is enough to punish you. Second, you dared to make a move against the enforcement team. With the combination of the two, I can kill you on the spot. So shameless. Longao despised Zhao Yu in his heart. It seemed like the Clear Sky Sect was nothing more than this. At the very least, they wouldn't protect their own disciples. At this moment, Longao laughed. His laughter was filled with disdain and contempt. What are you laughing at? If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. I have a clear conscience. Yang Dingtian waved his hand and stopped Zhao Yu. He spoke indifferently, Longao, since you are my Clear Sky Sect's disciple, then you have to abide by my Clear Sky Sect's rules. Am I right? That's right. Let's put aside whether you kneel or not. No matter what grudges you have with Zhu Shao, the enforcement team has already made a move. You should be obedient. But your actions have already violated the sect's rules. Do you deny this? Longao didn't say anything. Words were spoken according to the person. No one could tell if it was right or wrong. Longao. Mitch with a light snort, Zhu Chuan's killing intent soared. The person in front of him had actually dared to cripple his only nephew. This was simply not giving him any face. If he let this matter rest, where would his face go? Longao, just now the master said that no matter what grudge you have with my nephew, you shouldn't have crippled him. I came here this time to seek justice for my nephew. Kong Feng continued, Master Yang, our purpose for coming here this time is very simple. However, we are magnanimous. Since Longao did not kill Zhu Shao, I will give him a chance. No one spoke. Kong Feng said, as long as this person cuts off one of his arms, I will let him go. Kong Feng, don't go too far. Qian stand down. Father. Stand down. Young Qian fiercely stomped her feet and glared at Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng. In the end, young Qian didn't say anything and stood aside obediently. Zhao Yu had already thought through the situation. Longao's talent and strength were pretty good. If he focused on nurturing him, he believed that Longao would definitely grow in a few years. However, Zhao Yu knew that if he didn't hand over Longao today, the Black Wind Valley would definitely not let this matter rest. When the Black Wind Valley launched a large-scale attack, how could the sect resist? For a mere Longao, a disciple who had just entered the sect, was it worth it to fall out with the Black Wind Valley? On one side was an inner sect disciple. On the other side was the incomparably powerful Black Wind Valley that was above the Supreme Sky Sect. How should he choose? In the end, Zhao Yu chose the Black Wind Valley, which meant sacrificing Longao. He was very clear that although the master didn't say it explicitly, his meaning was very clear. It was the same as his. He chose to give up Longao and maintain a good relationship with the Black Wind Valley. That was indeed the case. Zhao Yu said coldly, "Longao, you crippled a fellow disciple and even attacked the enforcement team. According to the sect's rules, your Dantian should be crippled and you should be expelled from the sect. However, since it wasn't easy for you to enter the sect, I will cut off one of your arms. From today onwards, you can just clean up the back hall." Before Longao could speak, Zhao Yu continued, "Song Li, you do it." Song Li was an inner sect disciple, a sovereign personage, and one of the many people who pursued young Chenna. From the moment Longao stepped into the sect, Song Li had disliked Longao. How could Song Li give up such a rare opportunity? Smiling coldly, Song Li suppressed the excitement in his heart and bowed respectfully, "Yes, elder." Turning around, Song Li walked toward Longao step by step. Young Chenna clenched her fists tightly. She had already decided that if Song Li really dared to attack and cut off one of Longao's arms, she would help Longao even if she had to endure her father's scolding. "Longao, are you going to cut off your own arm, or do you want me to help you?" The corners of Song Li's mouth slowly curled into a cold smile. Actually, Song Li had already made up his mind. Regardless of whether Longao chose to do it himself or not, he would deal with him personally. Hence, Song Li would not give Longao any chance at all. Both Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng were very satisfied with the Supreme Sky Sect's decision. This was because the Supreme Sky Sect had already admitted defeat and chose to give up on Longao. The two of them were very happy. It looked like the Supreme Sky Sect also knew their limits and knew that they were not a match for the Black Wind Valley. In fact, everyone present was well aware of this. But even so, no one looked down on Zhao Yu and the master. That was because a wise man submits to circumstances. No matter who it was, they wouldn't offend a major power like the Black Wind Valley for a mere disciple. Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng exchanged a glance. They both saw disdain and contempt in each other's eyes. The more the Supreme Sky Sect acted like this, the more they looked down on them. This was a dog-eat-dog world of the martial heaven continent. It was an unchangeable law of survival. Song Li walked toward Longao. Although he looked very slow, he was doing it on purpose for young Chenna to see. It was very simple. Other than being a supreme beauty, young Chenna also had an amazing status. No matter who it was, once they married young Chenna, they would become the son-in-law of the Supreme Sky Sect, a carp leaping over the dragon gate and soaring to the heavens. No one was a fool. They naturally knew the benefits of pursuing young Chenna. Not only would they gain a beauty, but they would also gain status. No one would be able to resist such a temptation. In this way, under the watchful eyes of everyone, Song Li walked towards Longao step by step. The murderous aura on his body began to condense in his right hand. As a human king warrior, not to mention that Longao did not dare to move at this moment, even if he dared to fight back, Song Li had full confidence that he could easily deal with Longao. This was the gap between human king and Xiantian realm. Go die. Song Li didn't hesitate. Just as everyone thought that one of Longao's arms would be cut off and that young Chenna wouldn't even have a chance to attack, a miserable cry rang out. Chapter 773. A blood-curdling scream instantly echoed throughout the hall. A shocking scene occurred. Originally, Song Li had chopped off Longao's arm. But what happened in the end? Longao was fine, but Song Li was sent flying. Not only that, but there was also a spurt of blood. One of Song Li's arms had been chopped off by the saber light. Longao retaliated. However, Song Li was a bona fide human king. Even if Longao was careless, it was impossible for him to deal with Song Li so easily. If that was the case, then Longao was not an innate realm martial artist but a metamorphosed martial artist. Not just a metamorphosed human king, but an earthly sovereign or Tao ancestor that was above the human king. Longao had just joined the sect, and his talent and strength had increased by a level. It would be a lie to say that they were not tempted. Even so, if there were no accidents, Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian would still choose the Black Wind Valley and give up on Longao. In the Supreme Sky Sect's opinion, Longao was not comparable to the Black Wind Valley. Presumptuous. Seeing Longao make a move and almost kill Song Li, everyone was shocked. This was especially true for Zhao Yu, who was the disciplinary elder of the sect. Not only did someone dare to ignore his decision right under his nose, but they even dared to attack him. This was simply looking down on him, and even the sect in his eyes. I'm presumptuous. Longao was not afraid at all. Looking at the two people in front of him, Longao suddenly said, "Master, I wanted to join the Supreme Sky Sect in the past because I valued the sect's strength. But now," Longao did not continue, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. "No matter what, I am now a disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect. I wonder if Master can give me a chance to speak." Nodding his head, Yang Dingtian was very surprised because he was beginning to be interested in Longao. A person who was obviously an earthly sovereign or Tao ancestor actually wanted to participate in the assessment. Such a talent could definitely be the focus of the sect's nurturing. Sect Master Yang, Longao disobeyed orders and harmed his fellow disciples. The Supreme Sky Sect is really something, not killing such a person without mercy. Zhu Chuan was shocked when he saw that Yang Dingtian seemed to be tempted. His main purpose for coming here this time was to kill Longao. If he failed, he would be too ashamed to continue living in this world. Moreover, he had invited the young Valley Master of the Black Wind Valley. Therefore, no matter what happened today, he had to get rid of Longao. In other words, Longao had to die. Master Yang, Longao first crippled Zhu Shao, and now has done this person. Could it be that such a person can still be pardoned? Kong Feng didn't seem to be sure if this was the Black Wind Valley or the Supreme Sky Sect. If the Supreme Sky Sect was stronger than the Black Wind Valley, he would have been eliminated by now. Yang Dingtian waved his hand. Although he felt uncomfortable in his heart, he could only endure it because of the Black Wind Valley's strength. "Young Valley Master, please calm down. I will settle this matter." Kong Feng and Zhu Chuan naturally wouldn't continue to pressure Yang Dingtian. No matter what, this was still the Supreme Sky Sect's territory. If the Supreme Sky Sect really went crazy and didn't care about anything, it would be troublesome. "Longao, you can begin." Yang Dingtian also wanted to hear what this mysterious young man wanted to say under such circumstances. "Master, I would like to ask if I am a disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect." Yang Dingtian nodded and didn't say anything. However, Zhao Yu snorted. Longao had severely injured Song Li, which was obviously a slap to his face. If it wasn't for the master stopping him, Zhao Yu would have already made a move. Song Li had already been carried away. From the beginning to the end, no one was willing to believe that a disciple who had just joined the sect was actually able to injure Song Li in a single move. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, no one would believe it. "Alright, since I am still a disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect, I would like to ask the Master. Since I am a disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect, then no matter what mistake I made, it is still a matter of the Supreme Sky Sect. But what about now?" Two dogs from the Black Wind Valley came in and made a ruckus. "Master, are you going to tell me that our Supreme Sky Sect is actually a subsidiary of the Black Wind Valley? Presumptuous. You are courting death." Longao's words were something that no one wanted to hear, especially Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu. What a joke. The Supreme Sky Sect might not be as strong as the Black Wind Valley, but it was impossible for them to be a subsidiary of the Black Wind Valley. After hearing Longao's words, Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng were enraged. They looked at Longao furiously. If it wasn't for the Supreme Sky Sect, the two of them wouldn't have let this matter go. Two dogs. PFFF. Young Chenna might not be willing to hear Longao's words, but she couldn't help but laugh when she heard Longao calling them dogs. No matter what, Ju Chuan and Kong Feng were the young valley lord and elder of the Black Wind Valley respectively. Within the radius of 1,000 miles, there were countless sects and clans. How many of them would dare to scold the two of them? Unless they were tired of living. Chenna, don't be rude. Young Chenna stuck out her tongue and nodded at Longao. Longao, you are too presumptuous. Ha ha ha, I am being presumptuous just because I am speaking the truth. Am I not wrong? This is our Supreme Sky Sect's internal affairs, yet an outsider is telling us what to do. Isn't such a sect a subsidiary of the Black Wind Valley? Since things had already developed to this stage, Longao no longer cared. He didn't belong to the Supreme Sky Sect in the first place. He couldn't possibly lose face or his life just to stay here. Oh right, I almost forgot. The Supreme Sky Sect isn't a subsidiary of the Black Wind Valley. Just when everyone thought that Longao would compromise, Longao suddenly said, based on the Supreme Sky Sect's current actions, if I am not wrong, the Supreme Sky Sect should be running errands for the Black Wind Valley. Hearing Longao's words, everyone was shocked. No one had expected that Longao would say such words. He was clearly provoking the sect, provoking the Black Wind Valley. If that was the case, Longao would be dead for sure. Because Longao's words had not only offended the Black Wind Valley, but he had also offended his own master, which was the Supreme Sky Sect. Without any backing, the Black Wind Valley could kill Longao in a matter of minutes. Could Longao's brain be flooded with water? He clearly knew that the current situation was very dangerous. If he wasn't careful, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Everyone looked at Longao blankly. They didn't know what was going on with Longao at this moment. It wasn't just the ordinary inner sect disciples. Even Zhao Yu, Yang Dingtian, Ju Chuan, and Kong Feng couldn't react in time. At this moment, Zhao Yu took a step forward. The murderous aura on his body seemed to have materialized as it pressed down ruthlessly. As a Saint Emperor, Zhao Yu's strength was obvious. Just his aura alone was enough to crush ordinary transformation realm martial artists. Chapter 774. He didn't know what death was. Everyone thought that Longao was dead for sure. After all, he dared to provoke the Clear Sky Sect and Black Wind Valley. Would the two major sects let him off? Without a doubt. After hearing Longao's words, everyone was enraged, including Yang Chen-er. Yang Chen-er glared at Yang Chen-er and wanted to say something, but she ultimately held it in. Longao, you are too presumptuous. This was the third time that Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu had said that Longao was presumptuous, but the two of them still didn't make a move. This caused Kong Feng and Ju Chuan's expressions to turn extremely gloomy. Kong Feng smiled and said, "Indeed, it is better to hear the rumors. The Clear Sky Sect has broadened my horizons today. Master Yang, I am impressed." Kong Feng might have said that he was impressed, but he was actually mocking the Clear Sky Sect. No one present was a fool. Of course, they could understand the meaning behind Kong Feng's words. However, Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian didn't say anything. After all, it was the truth. Longao was just a disciple who had just entered the sect, but he had repeatedly contradicted the sect. If such a matter were to spread out, he would definitely be ridiculed. Master, I will say the same thing again. If the Clear Sky Sect is really willing to become the bootlicker of the Black Wind Valley, then I have nothing to say. Kill. Yang Dingtian waved his hand and stopped Zhao Yu, who was already extremely furious. Master. Zhao Yu's expression was very unsightly because he couldn't understand why the sect was still unwilling to make a move when the matter had already reached this stage. Could it be that they were going to allow Longao to be so arrogant and presumptuous and let the two from the Black Wind Valley laugh at them? How could Yang Dingtian not know what Zhao Yu meant? Longao, let's not talk about the Black Wind Valley now. You have already said that you are still a disciple of the Clear Sky Sect. Since that is the case, as the master of the Clear Sky Sect, I can punish you. You shouldn't have any objections to this, right? Longao didn't continue to speak nonsense. because he already knew very well that since things had already reached this stage, it would be useless no matter how much he said. Longao knew that if he were to compare himself to the Black Wind Valley, the Black Wind Valley would definitely have an advantage. After all, the Supreme Sky Sect would not offend the Black Wind Valley for him. No matter who it was, they would not do such a thing. Longao, as the master of the Supreme Sky Sect, I am now officially expelling you from the sect. From now on, you are no longer a disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect. Before anyone could react, Yang Dingtian continued, from this moment onwards, Longao no longer has anything to do with my Supreme Sky Sect. Therefore, the grudge between you and the Black Wind Valley has nothing to do with my Supreme Sky Sect. Take care of yourself. Shameless. Despicable. How could everyone not know what Yang Dingtian meant? He just wanted the Supreme Sky Sect to stay out of this matter. This way, even if the Black Wind Valley killed Longao, it wouldn't have anything to do with the Supreme Sky Sect. After all, it was Longao who made the mistake first, which was why the Supreme Sky Sect expelled him from the sect. It had to be said that Yang Dingtian was very shameless to be able to do such a thing. From a certain perspective, his actions had bitterly disappointed the disciples of the sect because no one could guarantee that such a thing would not happen to them one day. If they were to encounter such a situation, would they also be abandoned by the sect? When they heard Yang Dingtian's decision, Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng were instantly delighted. But the two of them had an expression as though it was a matter of course because in their opinion, Yang Dingtian was doing this because he was afraid of the Black Wind Valley behind them. The more Yang Dingtian acted like this, the more the two of them looked down on the Supreme Sky Sect because they were certain that the Supreme Sky Sect was indeed afraid of the Black Wind Valley. Father, your actions are unfair to Longao. I can't accept it. I can't accept it. In the entire Supreme Sky Sect, only Yang Chenna would dare to do this. If it was anyone else, they would have already been punished by the enforcement elder. However, Yang Chenna was Yang Dingtian's most beloved daughter. Of course, she didn't have any taboos and could say whatever she wanted. Even Zhao Yu couldn't do anything about it. Chenna, this matter has nothing to do with you. If you dare to say another word, I will go into seclusion for a year. You are not allowed to leave the sect and you are not allowed to see anyone. Yang Chenna was shocked when she heard her father's words. She never expected that her father would do this. Because for so many years, her father had always doted on her and would give her whatever she wanted. But now, Yang Chenna wasn't a fool. Of course, she knew that her father had made up his mind. Could it be that he was going to sacrifice Longao just because he was afraid of the Black Wind Valley? Longao's innate talent and strength were already there. Once he was nurtured with emphasis, he would definitely become the sect's pillar in the future. Yang Chenna couldn't understand why her father would choose to give up such a talent. Yang Chenna wasn't Yang Dingtian and wasn't the Supreme Sky Sect's master. There were some things that Yang Chenna thought too simply. As the Supreme Sky Sect's master, no matter what happened, Yang Dingtian would first think of the sect's benefits before anything else. The Black Wind Valley's strength was obviously superior to the Supreme Sky Sect. In Yang Dingtian's opinion, it wasn't worth it to fall out with the Black Wind Valley or even start a war with them just for an inner sect disciple. But Yang Dingtian was still somewhat reluctant because the strength and potential that Longao had just displayed indicated that if he was nurtured with emphasis, his future would be bright. But it was a pity. All of this couldn't be blamed on anyone else. It was all Longao's fault for being young and impetuous. He had just entered the sect and had already provoked Zhu Shao and crippled him, which led to Zhu Shao's uncle, Zhu Chuan. Yang Chenna still wanted to say something, but when she saw her father's cold eyes, she forcefully endured it. Since things had already reached this stage, it seemed like she had to sacrifice Longao. Yang Chenna silently apologized in her heart. Longao, are you convinced? When he heard Yang Dingtian's question, Longao nearly laughed out loud. Shaking his head helplessly, Longao spoke with disdain. The matter has already been done and the words have already been spoken. I have nothing to say. I will say one last thing. I believe that in the near future, the Supreme Sky Sect will perish and the Black Wind Valley will exterminate your Supreme Sky Sect. At that time, All of you will become the slaves of the Black Wind Valley. Longao, you are still stubborn. Not only did you commit all sorts of rebellious acts, but you also constantly slandered the sect. The sect is already lenient by not killing a disciple like you. You better reflect on yourself. Zhao Yu constantly sneered in his heart. Because Longao was expelled from the sect, the outcome was already determined. Would Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng let Longao off so easily? But this time, Zhu Chuan invited Kong Feng to the Supreme Sky Sect with the purpose of finding Longao and taking revenge for Zhu Shao. The two of them would definitely not let go of such a rare opportunity. After all, Longao was no longer a disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect. Chapter 775. Longao, isn't it time to settle the grudges between us? Longao had already been expelled from the Clear Sky Sect. Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng naturally wouldn't give up on this opportunity. Everyone thought that Longao would definitely kneel and beg for forgiveness after being expelled from the sect. After all, without the protection of the Clear Sky Sect, Longao would only have a dead end. Everyone, including Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian, looked at him with cold eyes. Yang Qian felt a little guilty and didn't even dare to look at him. Longao didn't blame anyone because he knew that this was the law of survival. Strictly speaking, the Clear Sky Sect wasn't in the wrong. Do you want to fight in the Clear Sky Sect or leave? Longao didn't kneel and beg for forgiveness. Instead, he had a prideful expression as though he didn't put the two in his eyes. What was going on? Everyone was stunned and didn't know what was going on with Longao. Did water enter his brain? Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng sneered. Haha, Longao, I have to admit that you are very arrogant. But arrogance needs to be paid. Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng didn't even put Longao in their eyes because even if Longao was a Dao ancestor, what could he do? Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng were both genuine Saint Emperors. Unless it was a martial artist above the Saint Venerable realm, the two of them wouldn't be afraid of anyone. Nonsense. Longao didn't want to delay any longer as he turned and prepared to leave. Longao, you want to leave? Zhu Chuan, Kong Feng, I don't have so much nonsense. If you want to fight, then fight. I will wait for you outside. Looking at Longao's departing figure, everyone was even more stunned. They didn't know what gave Longao the confidence to actually ignore two Saint Emperors. Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng harshly snorted. Without much hesitation, the two of them directly followed. Master. Yang Dingtian waved his hand. How could he not know what Zhao Yu wanted to say? After thinking for a moment, Yang Dingtian suddenly said, "This person isn't simple. Father, you disappoint me." Looking at his most beloved daughter, Yang Dingtian let out a deep sigh in his heart. Tianna, as the master of the Supreme Sky Sect, I have to think of the sect first. There are some things that I cannot control. I believe Father knows better than me what kind of person Zhu Shao is. Longao crippled Zhu Shao in the name of eliminating evil. However, not only did the sect not protect Longao, they even expelled him from the sect. Such a sect is really good. He ignored his daughter's mockery because the sect was indeed in the wrong. But what could he do? Kong Feng's personal visit this time represented the will of Black Wind Valley. Regardless of what the others thought, he felt that it was not worth offending Black Wind Valley for an inner sect disciple. He did not continue speaking. Since the matter had already been decided, there was no way to change it. In other words, if Longao was expelled from the sect, he would definitely die. In everyone's eyes, it was impossible for Longao to be a match for two Saint Kings. Not to mention two Saint Kings joining hands, even if they casually came out, they would be able to easily take care of Longao. Supreme Sky Sect, in the huge plaza outside the main hall. Right now, the plaza was filled with people and was completely surrounded by the disciples of the Supreme Sky Sect. Everyone had already received the news about Longao and Black Wind Valley. There was no doubt that many people admired Longao and were unhappy with their own sect. However, due to the sect's prestige, they did not dare to voice their anger. Such an outstanding disciple was going to be expelled from the sect just because of the fear of Black Wind Valley. His fate was unknown. Was it really suitable for such a sect to continue staying? The center of the plaza was now empty. Longao, Zhu Chuan, and Kong Feng faced each other. Yang Qian'er, Zhao Yu, and Yang Dingtian stood in front of the main hall. Now that Longao was no longer a disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect, his life and death had nothing to do with the Supreme Sky Sect. Even if Yang Qian'er felt guilty, there was nothing she could do since the matter had already developed to this stage. Longao, I'll give you a chance. As long as you kneel and beg for mercy, cripple your cultivation, and break your limbs, I'll be magnanimous and spare your life. Longao, since Elder Zhu Chuan is so magnanimous, let me give you a piece of advice. A wise man submits to circumstances. Otherwise, you won't even be able to find your corpse. Arrogant. However, everyone knew that the two of them had the qualifications to be arrogant. After all, the Black Wind Valley was above the Supreme Sky Sect. It was more than enough to deal with a disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect. Everyone in the surroundings was incomparably furious. They were all rubbing their fists. Although Longao had already been expelled from the sect, everyone knew that this matter wasn't Longao's fault. If there was anyone to blame, it was the sect's fault. Who asked the sect to be afraid of the Black Wind Valley? Everyone was fiercely cursing the two of them in their hearts. The two of them were so arrogant. Although they were targeting Longao, they were actually targeting the Clear Sky Sect. Because of this, the Black Wind Valley did not put the Clear Sky Sect in their eyes. You guys are really talking nonsense. If you want to fight, then fight. If not, then scram. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Hearing Longao's words, Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng raised their heads and laughed loudly. It was as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Zhu Chuan walked out. It was impossible for the two of them to join forces. As for Kong Feng, as the young valley master of the Black Wind Valley, it was impossible for him to make the first move. Mid-rank Saint King. In just an instant, Longao had already sensed Zhu Chuan's strength. He was a little solemn. He was only a peak Saint King. Although he had already devoured 2% of the flame crystal's power, he still hadn't successfully broken through to the Saint King realm. The difference between a Saint King and a Saint King was huge. Longao was very clear that even if he used his trump card, he might not be able to win. However, he had already reached this stage. This battle was unavoidable. Longao and Zhu Chuan stared at each other. Everyone in the surroundings held their breaths. In everyone's opinion, the difference in strength between Longao and Zhu Chuan was too great. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. If Longao and Zhu Chuan fought, Longao would definitely die. However, everyone still admired Longao. Because not everyone could do what Longao did. He clearly knew that he wasn't the opponent's match, but he still wanted to fight. Just this courage alone was enough to make him look down on his peers. In one move, I'll let you know what the difference in strength is. They had to admit that Zhu Chuan was indeed very arrogant. However, everyone knew that Zhu Chuan had the right to be arrogant. Putting aside the powerful strength of the Black Wind Valley, just Zhu Chuan's strength alone was enough to kill Longao thousands of times. In one move. Longao didn't take Zhu Chuan seriously at all. Although he knew that he wasn't as strong as Zhu Chuan, it seemed impossible for Zhu Chuan to kill him in one move. However, Longao didn't waste his breath. Facts spoke louder than words. Just like that, an unparalleled battle intent suddenly rose from Longao. Chapter 776. Everyone was shocked when they felt the battle intent emitted from Longao's body. Could it be that Longao wasn't a metamorphosis martial artist? At this moment, Longao and Zhu Chuan both moved. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were already engaged in a fierce battle. Zhu Chuan, who was originally full of confidence, couldn't even kill his opponent in 3 moves. According to what Zhu Chuan said, he only needed 1 move to kill his opponent. But what was the final result? Spatial teleportation. Longao used spatial teleportation to constantly shift his body. Even though Zhu Chuan was a Saint Emperor, he still couldn't lock onto Longao's position. After being shocked, Zhu Chuan's contempt vanished without a trace. As for the so-called innate ability, Longao didn't use it. Peak Stage Saint King? Longao was actually a Peak Stage Saint King? Others might not be able to sense it, but how could Kong Feng, Yang Qian-er, Zhao Yu, and Yang Dingtian not be able to sense it? A Peak Stage Saint King martial artist was just an inner sect disciple. Was this true? Master, Longao is actually a Peak Stage Saint King. Yang Dingtian nodded. He never expected that Longao was actually a Peak Stage Saint King. The Clear Sky sect could disregard a metamorphosis martial artist, but they couldn't disregard a Peak Stage Saint King. Because everyone knew that the Peak Stage Saint King was just one step away from becoming a Saint Emperor. It was useless to regret. Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian knew clearly that they had already expelled Longao from the sect. If they regretted it now, even if they were willing, they believed that Longao wouldn't return. Since that was the case, they had to be ruthless. When they thought of this, Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian decided at the same time that no matter what happened, Longao had to die. Longao's intention was very simple. He couldn't let Zhu Chuan know of his identity. It was impossible to contend against a mid-stage Saint Emperor by relying on spatial teleportation. Master, you have the desolate divine body. You can try to resist it. This way, your refining speed will be much faster. Longao, who was constantly using teleportation to resist Zhu Chuan, was shocked when he heard Long Fu's words. Long Fu's intention was very clear to Longao. However, doing so was very dangerous. The slightest bit of discomfort could lead to eternal damnation. However, Longao still chose to meet force with force. Just as Long Fu had said, since he had already devoured the power of the flame crystal, he could not give up such a rare opportunity. Middle-class Saint Emperor, neither high nor low, just right. Just like that, under everyone's shocked gazes, Longao did not continue to dodge. At the same time, his fists smashed out fiercely, his entire body also forcefully slammed out. Longao was no match for his opponent at all. Just like that, the following outcome was certain. Longao was constantly attacked by Zhu Chuan. In just a few minutes, Longao had been attacked hundreds of times. If this continued, even if he had the desolate divine body, it would be difficult for him to withstand the attacks. Who exactly is Longao? Zhao Yu knew clearly what the master had said. After all, Longao was just a disciple who had just entered the sect. However, he was a Peak Stage Saint King. Not only that, from the valiant strength that Longao had displayed, even a Saint Emperor wouldn't be able to kill Longao easily. Master, Longao's identity is very suspicious. There aren't many people with the surname Long in the Sky Martial continent. The strongest family is undoubtedly the Long family. Zhao Yu might not have finished his words, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Long family? Yang Dingtian naturally knew what a Long family meant. Shaking his head, Yang Dingtian refused to believe it and said, "Impossible. If Longao is a disciple of the Long family, it is impossible for him to join our Clear Sky sect. Master, I don't know why, but I keep feeling that Longao is related to the Long family. Actually, it is very simple for us to confirm Longao's identity. We just need to see if Longao is a dragon martial artist." Dragon martial artist was the symbol of a Long family. I know what you mean. But there are many disciples of the Long family who are not dragon martial artists. Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian had already started to suspect if Longao was a disciple of the Long family. Because there weren't many people with the surname Long in the Sky Martial continent. The largest Long family was also the headquarters of those with the surname Long. Yang Qian'er was staring at the battle in the distance. Until now, Yang Qian'er still didn't expect Longao to be a Peak Stage Saint King. She was cursing the sect in her heart. Why did the sect forcefully push away such a talented person? Yang Qian'er glanced at her father beside her and seemed to want to say something. But she ultimately didn't say anything. Not far away. Kong Feng's expression was getting increasingly gloomy and extremely unsightly. Kong Feng had never expected that Longao would be a Peak Stage Saint King. It seemed like the Clear Sky sect had a lot of secrets. The more Longao behaved like this, the more intense Kong Feng's killing intent was. He couldn't wait to make a move and personally deal with Longao. But Kong Feng ultimately endured it because Zhu Chuan had already lost face by bullying Longao. If he were to make a move and join forces, he would definitely be laughed at by others. Kong Feng clenched his fists tightly and was very furious. The battle between Longao and Zhu Chuan had already reached its climax. Although Longao was unable to defeat Zhu Chuan and was constantly being attacked, it was still unbelievable that a Saint King could last so long against a Saint King. Everyone was deeply shocked by Longao's strength. To be able to contend against a Saint King, even if Longao was defeated in the end, it would still be a glorious defeat. No one would look down on Longao. Instead, they would admire him. Just how many people could do what Longao had done in such a battle? No one spoke in the surroundings. They all held their breaths as they stared at the battle in the center. Longao was already riddled with wounds and seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. Gritting his teeth, Longao had already decided that if this continued, he was prepared to use his innate abilities, formation attacks, and the 5 elements heaven-devouring mantra. Just like that, Longao was constantly attacked by Zhu Chuan. Unknowingly, several hundred moves had already passed. The longer the battle dragged on, the uglier Zhu Chuan's expression became. He had just said that he would finish off his opponent in a single move, but in the end, he had still failed after several hundred moves. If this continued, who knew how long it would take? Even if he won this battle, it would be a rather disgusting victory. Which was exactly why Zhu Chuan began to increase his strength. He hoped that he could kill his opponent in the shortest amount of time possible. Longao was a peak saint ruler. Although everyone was very shocked, they still had to admit that it would be far too difficult for Longao to survive against a Saint King. For some reason, as the battle continued to escalate, everyone in the surroundings began to admire Longao more and more. Courage, strength, talent, potential, and perseverance. Longao possessed everything. Chapter 777. Pressure. Still pressure. Under the pressure of Zhu Chuan's constant attacks, Longao began to rapidly refine the power of the fire crystals within his body. Under normal circumstances, Longao would need at least 3 days to refine all the power within his body. But now, under the powerful pressure, Longao only needed a few minutes to successfully refine all the power within his body. Moreover, he relied on the pressure to break through. The greatest difference between a saint ruler and a saint king was the condensation of power. As long as he could circulate the power within his dantian, he would be able to successfully break through to Saint King. Boom! Longao felt a change in his dantian. Following that, he was pleasantly surprised. He had finally broken through to Saint King. In just a few seconds, Longao's strength had doubled. Just like that, Longao continued to use spatial teleportation. Not only was his speed doubled, even the fist force from his fists was extremely domineering. He broke through. Sensing Longao's aura suddenly skyrocketing, everyone was shocked. No one had thought that Longao would be able to break through in the middle of a battle. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. Breaking through in the middle of a battle was basically impossible in the world of cultivators. Longao knew very well that although he had used the pressure of Zhu Chuan to break through from Saint Ruler to Saint King, he was still a beginner Saint King. Moreover, his cultivation had not stabilized yet. Killing Zhu Chuan would not be an easy task. Unless he used his trump card. Longao originally did not want to use his trump card unless he had no other choice. But now that things had developed to this point, Longao knew that he had to kill Zhu Chuan no matter what. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble in the future. If you cut the grass without removing the roots, it would grow again. Because of this, Longao was prepared to deal with Zhu Chuan and Kong Feng at all costs. As for whether they would cause trouble for Black Wind Valley in the future, that was another matter. Innate ability, Dragon's Roar. When the Dragon's Roar rang out, the image of a huge dragon suddenly appeared behind Longao. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. It was especially so for Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian. Even if the two of them were fools, they had already guessed that Longao wasn't just a disciple of the Long family, he was also a dragon martial artist who had awakened his bloodline and had an innate ability. Long family members would definitely focus on nurturing them once they awakened their bloodline and developed innate abilities. It was precisely because of this reason that Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian couldn't understand. Since Longao was a disciple of the Long family and had even awakened his bloodline and developed his innate ability, why would Longao still come to the Clear Sky sect? Among them, Kong Feng was the most shocked. As the young valley master of Blackwind Valley, Kong Feng naturally knew what Longao's innate ability meant. Long family. If Longao was really a disciple of the Long family, things would be troublesome. Long family was one of the 10 strongest factions in the Sky Martial continent. It wasn't something that the Blackwind Valley could provoke. Longao and Zhu Chuan's battle was constantly escalating. Longao, who was being constantly attacked by Zhu Chuan, had gradually stabilized. Not only that, but Longao had even started to slowly counterattack. Zhu Chuan's body was locked down and time started to flow backward. Taking advantage of this time, Longao's body disappeared from the spot. With the help of spatial teleportation, in the next second, Longao had already appeared behind Zhu Chuan. The blood-sucking broadsword in his hand had already ruthlessly slashed out. Feint to the east and attack to the west. Longao's blade didn't intend to kill Zhu Chuan. With Longao's current strength as a Saint Emperor, his innate ability could completely lock down Zhu Chuan. In a short period of time, Zhu Chuan wouldn't be able to break free from the lock. Even so, Zhu Chuan was still able to block the blade light attack clearly. But in the next second, a miserable cry rang out. That was because Zhu Chuan had never imagined that Longao's blade light was just the prelude. What followed next was the main course, the so-called soul formation attack. Under normal circumstances, Longao wouldn't dare to use a soul formation attack. That was because the danger was too great. In other words, with Longao's previous strength as a Saint King, his soul was inferior to Zhu Chuan's, so he couldn't use it. If he suffered a soul backlash, the consequences would be unimaginable. But the problem now was that Longao's cultivation base had broken through from the peak of the Saint King realm to the early Saint Emperor realm. His soul had practically surpassed Zhu Chuan's. That way, Longao didn't have the slightest worry. If he used a soul formation attack, he wouldn't suffer a soul backlash. When the miserable cry rang out, Longao didn't hesitate in the slightest. His fists moved, and the divine dragon arm and the underworld tiger arm constantly smashed Zhu Chuan's body. In just a few seconds, hundreds of punches had been unleashed. Longao, you dare? Fuck. Longao cursed in his heart. He couldn't understand. Things had already reached this stage. Did Kong Feng still think that he would let Zhu Chuan go? Of course, Longao wouldn't show mercy. After 100 punches, Zhu Chuan's entire body was smashed to pieces. With a single glance, it was obvious that Zhu Chuan had been smashed to death. Zhu Chuan was dead. At that moment, everyone's gaze toward Longao had completely changed. Longao had brought them too many surprises. First, he had broken through in battle. Then, he had directly smashed Zhu Chuan to death. Such a genius had been forcefully pushed out by the Supreme Sky Sect. Longao, you dare to kill Zhu Chuan? Before Kong Feng could finish speaking, he suddenly felt a chill behind him. He didn't dare to be careless. He quickly dodged, barely dodging the blade light attack. Seeing Longao suddenly appear behind him, Kong Feng's expression was extremely gloomy. How did Longao do it? Xiao Chen appeared silently behind him. If he hadn't sensed it in time, he would have become a corpse by now. Furthermore, there was something that Kong Feng never expected. Longao had just killed Zhu Chuan. He didn't even have time to rest before attacking him. Wasn't this too arrogant? Furthermore, no matter what, he was the young valley master of Blackwind Valley. Even if Longao did not fear him, how was he going to answer to the Blackwind Valley if he killed him? Longao, you dare to kill my Blackwind Valley's elder? Could it be that only you are allowed to kill me, but I'm not allowed to kill you? What a joke. Kong Feng, we have to settle our grudges today. Didn't you say earlier that you wanted me to cripple my cultivation and break my arms and legs? I'll give you a chance. As long as you cripple your cultivation and break your arms and legs, I'll let you off. The situation suddenly changed. Some people could not even react to it. They did not know what was going on. Why did Longao, who was at a disadvantage earlier, suddenly turn the tables and firmly suppress Kong Feng? He even shamelessly said that he wanted Kong Feng to cripple his cultivation and break his arms and legs. However, Kong Feng's strength far surpassed Zhu Chuan's. He was a so-called high-level holy emperor. Master Yang, Longao killed my Black Wind Valley's elder. Is the Supreme Sky Sect not going to do anything about it? Despicable and shameless. Hearing Kong Feng's words, everyone cursed in their hearts. Chapter 778. Not only the ordinary disciples, but even Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian were looking down on Kong Feng. But because of Kong Feng's status, the two of them could only endure it. Zhao Yu looked at Longao in the distance and said, "Young Valley Master, you saw it with your own eyes. Longao has been expelled from the Clear Sky Sect. So, no matter what happens to Longao, it has nothing to do with the Clear Sky Sect." Since Longao had been expelled from the Clear Sky Sect, Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian naturally did not want to get involved in this. Kong Feng cursed in his heart. Master Yang, since Longao has been expelled from the Clear Sky Sect, shouldn't he be expelled from the Clear Sky Sect as well? With regards to Kong Feng's meaning, everyone clearly understood. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "That's right. Since Longao has been expelled from the sect, he should leave immediately." Of course, Yang Dingtian did not want to see Longao kill Kong Feng in the Clear Sky Sect. If that was the case, the Clear Sky Sect would be in endless trouble. Zhao Yu nodded. For Saint Venerable Elders shot out from the surroundings. No matter what, Longao was obviously a peak Saint King. Furthermore, he had broken through to the Saint King realm in the battle just now. Since Longao could kill Zhu Chuan, normal Saint Kings would not be able to expel Longao. The Clear Sky Sect was ruthless this time. They directly sent out 4 Saint Venerable Elders. The 4 Saint Venerables surrounded Longao from the 4 directions. Their intentions were very clear. "Longao, do you want to leave the sect on your own, or do you want the 4 Saint Venerable Elders to help you?" "Zhao Yu, you are seeking your own death." Ha ha ha. Zhao Yu suddenly laughed when he heard Longao's words. In his opinion, so what if Longao was a Saint King? He was nothing. As long as he was willing, as long as the Clear Sky Sect was willing, they could eliminate him at any time. Zhao Yu did not speak. But Kong Feng said it. "Longao, don't think that you're amazing just because you've become a Saint King. I can clearly tell you that you're dead for sure." Kong Feng smiled coldly. He was very confident that the Supreme Sky Sect would not let anything happen to him. Otherwise, the Supreme Sky Sect would not be able to answer to the Black Wind Valley. "Longao, what can you do to me?" Arrogant and conceited. Everyone despised Kong Feng in their hearts. However, no one dared to say anything even though they were angry. After all, the other party had a strong backer. Scram. Longao didn't say anything more because things had already come to this point. If he didn't kill Kong Feng, he wouldn't even be able to get past himself. "Longao, you dare to make a move?" Zhao Yu, Yang Dingtian, and Kong Feng were certain that Longao would never make a move. Otherwise, he would be an idiot. But Yang Qian'er's heart skipped a beat for some unknown reason. She had this feeling that Longao would make a move to kill Kong Feng and might even make a move against the sect. "Longao, you must endure." Yang Qian'er was silently anticipating in her heart. But the truth was that Longao was indeed preparing to make a move. His murderous aura surged as though he would kill anyone in his way. Before anyone could continue speaking, Longao's body suddenly moved. There was no need for Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian to give an order as the 4 Saint Venerable Elders had already made a move. A terrifying dragon roar echoed. Immediately after, a powerful whistling sound echoed. A dragon and a tiger roared as a dragon and a tiger appeared in the sky. A powerful aura enveloped everyone and ruthlessly suppressed them. Everyone's expression changed when they saw the dragon and the tiger. At this moment, everyone was certain that apart from having an innate ability, Longao was also a dragon martial artist. The four Saint Venerables originally wanted to intercept Longao. But when they saw the sudden appearance of the dragon and tiger, they had no choice but to change their direction. Because until now, the four of them still did not know the true strength of the dragon and tiger. Just by sensing their aura, the dragon and tiger were unfathomable. Following Longao's breakthrough, Long Ming and Long Qiong's cultivation had also broken through to the Saint Emperor realm. However, the man and the tiger were no longer the same as before. Their strength was enough to contend against Saint Venerables. Although the dragon and the tiger did not have full confidence in fighting 2 against 4, it was more than enough to hold back the 4 Saint Venerables. Longao used spatial teleportation and arrived in front of Kong Feng in the blink of an eye. He completely ignored Zhao Yu's threat and directly made a move. If it was a normal battle, it was still unknown who would win between Longao and Kong Feng. But with Zhu Chuan's previous example, Kong Feng did not dare to meet force with force. Just like that, Longao launched a series of vicious attacks in a spurt of energy, forcing Kong Feng to retreat. Kong Feng was shocked. He never imagined that Longao would still dare to make a move against him under such circumstances. The more Longao acted like this, the more Kong Feng did not dare to meet force with force. He kept retreating and shot towards Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian. He knew that at this moment, only the Supreme Sky Sect could save him. Longao had gone mad. Everyone thought that Longao had gone mad. With Kong Feng's status, who would dare to chase after him? Even an ordinary disciple of the Long family would not dare to offend the Black Wind Valley. How dare you? Men, kill Longao. Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian were completely enraged. They had already given the order to chase Longao out of the sect. Actually, the two of them had already given Longao a chance. Because Longao was very likely to be a disciple of the Long family, the two of them decided to let him out first. As for whether the Long family would chase after him, it was none of the Supreme Sky Sect's business. However, Longao did not know what was good for him. Not only did he not leave, but he even chased after Kong Feng. If the Supreme Sky Sect did not do anything, not to mention the Black Wind Valley, where would the Supreme Sky Sect's face be? The only 4 Saint Venerable Elders of the Supreme Sky Sect had already made their moves. They were tightly entangled by the dragon and the tiger and could not be separated. Left with no choice, Zhao Yu could only send out the remaining 8 Saint Emperor Elders of the Supreme Sky Sect. However, Longao was clearly filled with killing intent. This was because Longao was very clear about one principle in his heart. Being merciful to the enemy was the greatest cruelty to oneself. Longao's state of mind had gradually changed as his strength increased. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he was not willing to go on a killing spree. Moreover, there was still the danger of the blood pool. It was precisely because of this that Longao had been enduring ever since he entered the Supreme Sky Sect. Even if the Supreme Sky Sect chased him out of the sect and allowed Zhu Chuan to kill him, he still endured. However, Longao could no longer endure. If he continued to endure, it would truly be a tragedy. Thinking of this, Longao steeled his heart. Whether it was the Black Wind Valley or the Supreme Sky Sect, those who blocked him would die. Those who provoked him would die. Before the 8 Saint Emperors who just appeared could figure out what was going on, Longao used spatial teleportation to charge over. Before he arrived, a horrifying soul formation attack arrived first, ruthlessly attacking the soul of one of the Saint Emperors. A miserable shriek rang out. Following that, a Saint Emperor of the Supreme Sky Sect fell to the ground, dead. P.S. These few days, there is a big storyline, so the speed is somewhat slow. Xiao Ju did not rest at all, so some people should shut up. Many thanks to those who support Xiao Ju. Xiao Ju will work hard to increase the speed. Chapter 779. Longao killed a Saint Emperor? Instant kill in one move. What was going on? Seeing Longao continue his pursuit, everyone was dumbfounded as they stared at the corpse on the ground. The remaining 7 Saint Emperors did not dare to continue chasing after Longao because the previous incident was a warning. It was too terrifying. If he could instantly kill a Saint Emperor, then Longao definitely had the ability to instantly kill them. No one would complain about having a long life, and Saint Emperors were no exception. Seeing that the Clear Sky sect had already made their move, Kong Feng thought that he could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Just as he stopped to see how Longao would be killed by the Clear Sky sect, Kong Feng was completely stunned. Fuck. Kong Feng could not help but curse. He did not dare to stay any longer and immediately turned to leave. He continued to shoot towards the front of the hall as fast as he could. Longao had just used the soul formation attack and was delayed. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for Kong Feng to have a chance. But even so, Longao was still not prepared to let Kong Feng go. Things had already reached this stage. Longao was very clear that the grudge between him and the Black Wind Valley was no longer a matter of life and death. Thus, it did not matter if Kong Feng was stupid or not. Since that was the case, why should he let this person live? Master Yang, this is still the Clear Sky sect's territory. Are you going to let Longao do whatever he wants? Afraid that Yang Dingtian would not care about him, Kong Feng continued, Master Yang, if something happens to me in the Clear Sky sect, my father will definitely not let this go. At that time, not only Longao, but even the Clear Sky sect will have to bear the wrath of the Black Wind Valley. At this moment, Kong Feng still dared to threaten Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu's expressions were very ugly. On one hand, it was because of Kong Feng's threat. On the other hand, it was because Longao had killed a Saint Emperor martial artist. No matter what, there were only 8 Saint Emperors in the entire Supreme Sky sect. Longao, you are too presumptuous. Longao stopped abruptly. He looked at the 2 people in front of him and said coldly, get out of my way. In everyone's eyes, Longao had clearly gone mad. Not only had he killed a Saint King, but he had also looked down on the master. Unknowingly, Longao had offended the Clear Sky sect. As expected. Zhao Yu snorted coldly and said, Longao, you are truly reckless. Today, I want to see how you will walk out of the Supreme Sky sect. Zhao Yu was prepared to make a move personally. As one of the only 2 Saint Emperors in the Clear Sky sect, Zhao Yu's strength was obvious. Even the master, Yang Dingtian, had to be wary of Zhao Yu. It was imaginable how powerful Zhao Yu was. Seeing that Zhao Yu was going to personally take action, Kong Feng sneered. This was the kind of situation he wanted to see the most. First of all, if the battle between Longao and the Supreme Sky sect ended in mutual destruction, it would be beneficial to the Black Wind Valley. Before coming here, Kong Feng had never imagined that Longao would be so powerful. Zhao Yu took a step forward, but Longao didn't move. This had already explained Longao's decision. He was prepared to fight with Zhao Yu. Fight with the Enforcement Elder? Everyone was shocked when they saw that Longao wasn't going to back down and was prepared to fight. Because, as the Enforcement Elder of the Supreme Sky sect, Zhao Yu's strength was ranked 2nd in the Supreme Sky sect. Only the Master was able to suppress him. Longao's strength might be very powerful and could even instantly kill a Saint King, but Longao's strength was simply a fool's dream to contend against a Saint Emperor. It was simply a reckless act. Although they knew that Longao wouldn't win, everyone was still looking forward to this battle. They wanted to see how the Enforcement Elder would kill Longao. Father! Shut up! At this moment, Yang Dingtian was obviously extremely furious. He didn't even give any face to Yang Qian-er, who he doted on the most. Yang Qian-er stomped her feet in anger, but she couldn't do anything. Because of the strength of both parties, she couldn't interfere. In other words, even if she wanted to stop it, she couldn't do anything. Longao, if you can defeat me, I will immediately cut my own throat here. Zhao Yu's strong confidence told everyone that Longao would lose without a doubt. After all, he was a Saint Emperor. Unless a Saint Emperor intervened, he could crush a puny Saint Emperor to death in a matter of minutes. The dragon and tiger forced the 4 people back and quickly arrived at the left and right sides of Longao. However, Longao didn't continue to keep Long Qiong and Long Ming. The reason why he summoned the 2 of them was very simple. He wanted to borrow their strength to delay the 4 Saint Venerable Elders and deal with Kong Feng. Just as Zhao Yu was about to make a move, Yang Dingtian waved his hand and stopped Zhao Yu. Everyone was very curious. They didn't know why the master stopped them. Could it be that the master wanted to let Longao go? Impossible. Longao had killed a Saint Emperor from the Clear Sky sect. If the master really let him go, he wouldn't be able to give an explanation to the sect. Since that was the case, why did the master stop the enforcement elder? Master. Yang Dingtian waved his hand and looked at the youth in front of him. He asked, Longao, let me ask you. What is your relationship with the Long family? Are you a disciple of the Long family? The moment Yang Dingtian opened his mouth, Longao had already guessed the meaning behind Yang Dingtian's words. In the end, Yang Dingtian was still afraid of the Long family. If he was a disciple of the Long family, would the Clear Sky sect still dare to do this? Longao didn't hide anything. I am a Class 6 disciple of the Long family. I don't belong to the Long family. As expected, it was no wonder that Longao was a dragon martial artist and was able to awaken his bloodline and reproduce his innate ability. However, everyone was curious. Since Longao was a Class 6 disciple of the Long family, why wasn't he a member of the Long family? Could it be that the Class 6 Long family didn't belong to the Long family? As everyone knew, the Long family was divided into 9 classes. No matter which class the Long family was in, they would all belong to the Long family. There was no doubt about it. Since that was the case, wouldn't Longao's actions be disgraceful? If the Long family knew about this, it was imaginable what would happen to Longao. After hearing Longao's words, Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu were delighted. The two of them had already guessed that this child might be a disciple of the Long family, but he had a conflict with the Long family. If that was the case, even if they killed this child, the Long family wouldn't find trouble with the Clear Sky sect. Longao had already guessed what the two of them were thinking. He shook his head helplessly and said with disdain, "Stop wasting time. I can tell you that I have nothing to do with the Long family. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't want to fight, then get lost." It was undeniable that Longao was really arrogant. Things had already reached this stage. He was surrounded by the Clear Sky sect's people, but he still dared to act like this. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already thought of a way to escape. Chapter 780. Since Longao wasn't related to the Long family, then even if they killed Longao, no one would find trouble with the Clear Sky sect. Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian were delighted. The only thing that the two of them were afraid of was the Long family. Yang Dingtian didn't continue with the nonsense and took a step back while pulling Yang Qian-er. Yang Dingtian was very curious as he didn't know what was wrong with Qian-er today. Why did she keep speaking up for Longao? According to his understanding, Qian-er and Longao had only known each other for less than 3 days. Longao, I'll say it again. If you can defeat me, I will immediately cut my own throat here. Before Zhao Yu could finish his words, Longao had already attacked ruthlessly. Take the initiative to attack. Longao was very clear that there was a huge difference in strength between him and Zhao Yu. It wouldn't work if he was passive. He could only take the initiative to attack and might have a chance to survive. Under the spatial teleportation, Longao's body was constantly changing. Even if it was Zhao Yu, it would be a fool's dream if he wanted to catch up to Longao. Heaven and Earth's sorrow. Longao was like a tornado that instantly engulfed Zhao Yu. His body was releasing a powerful Heaven and Earth's aura that pressed down ruthlessly. Heaven and Earth's aura, Zhao Yu exclaimed. He never expected that the legendary Heaven and Earth's aura would actually appear on a Saint Emperor. In such a situation, Zhao Yu didn't dare to be careless. His palms were constantly crisscrossing like countless palm shadows. Longao couldn't even see the countless palm shadows clearly and could only rely on his intuition. There was a huge difference between a Saint Emperor and a Saint Emperor. Even if Longao used his trump card, it would still be hard for him to defeat a Saint Emperor. Longao was very clear about this point, and so was everyone else. It was precisely because of this reason that Longao and Zhao Yu's battle was determined by everyone. Longao would definitely die while Zhao Yu would definitely win. At this moment, Longao didn't dare to use the Soul Spirit Array to attack because Zhao Yu was a Saint Emperor. His Soul Spirit was far above Longao's. Once he used the Soul Spirit Array to attack, there was a huge possibility of him suffering a backlash. Helpless. Longao used the 5 elements heaven-devouring art. Of the 5 elemental heaven-devouring formula, Longao had only cultivated the fire elemental formula and the earth elemental formula. As for the water elemental formula, wood elemental formula and metal elemental formula, he had yet to reach the entry level. Under such circumstances, Longao would definitely choose the earth elemental art. Circulating the earth elemental art, Longao's hands constantly moved. A shocking scene occurred. The surrounding earth elemental energy rapidly condensed. In the blink of an eye, it had already formed a small space of earth elemental energy. This was the so-called gravity space. Crack. In a moment of carelessness, Zhao Yu was almost crushed by the gravity space. Zhao Yu was shocked. He had never expected that Longao would suddenly use this move and almost suppress him. What exactly happened? The 5 elements heaven-swallowing art came from the primal chaos stone tablet. As for the primal chaos stone tablets, they were one of the strongest existences in the world. Countless people wanted to obtain the 12 primal chaos stone tablets. Even the number 1 powerhouse, Tian Dao, wanted to obtain them. However, Longao had obtained 2 primal chaos stone tablets. One of them, the 5 elements primal chaos stone tablet, contained the 5 elements heaven-devouring art. Earth elemental energy. Are you from the 5 elements sect? As the enforcement elder of the Clear Sky sect and a Saint Emperor, Zhao Yu naturally knew what the power Longao had just used represented. But thinking about it, Zhao Yu felt that it wasn't very likely. Longao had just said that he was from the Longao family. Even so, how could Longao be a disciple of the 5 Elements sect? That was a contradiction. The 5 Elements sect was one of the 10 major powers of the martial heaven continent. Its power was comparable to the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance. Longao directly ignored Zhao Yu. He had already used the earth elemental art to trap Zhao Yu. Now, he would use his full power to attack. He had to succeed in one strike. That was because Longao knew that if he missed this opportunity, it would be extremely difficult for him to win this battle. Soul formation attack. After thinking about it, Longao could only choose this trump card in the end. If he relied on anything else, he would not be able to defeat Zhao Yu, let alone succeed in one strike. The soul formation attack was very dangerous. The slightest mistake would result in a soul backlash. The consequences would be unimaginable. However, Longao had no other choice. The Earth Elemental ART's gravitational space could not last much longer. At this moment, Longao went all out. Zhao Yu let out a muffled groan. After successfully attacking, Longao rejoiced. He did not dare to be careless. Using spatial teleportation, he arrived beside Zhao Yu in the blink of an eye. However, before Longao could react, he suddenly saw Zhao Yu sneer. Longao cursed inwardly. However, it was already too late. Zhao Yu's palm struck him. Longao's body was like a kite with its string cut as he flew back. When they saw Longao flying out from the tornado, no one was surprised. Everyone had already guessed the outcome of the battle between Longao and Zhao Yu. Longao was definitely going to lose. With the protection of the desolate divine body, Longao forcibly stopped in mid-air. Enduring the waves of pain coming from his body, Longao despised Zhao Yu. He did not expect that Zhao Yu would come looking for a set. If it was not for the desolate divine body, he believed that he would be dead by now. The tornado vanished. Zhao Yu's body appeared and sneered. Longao, you are actually able to withstand my palm strike. Not bad. Not bad. Yang Dingtian and Kong Feng came to Zhao Yu's side. Everyone looked at Longao because in everyone's eyes, Longao was already a turtle in a jar. Zhao Yu, you and I both know what happened earlier. So what? The corner of Zhao Yu's mouth slowly curled into a sneer. He did not put Longao in his eyes at all. He sneered and said, "The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Since you have already lost, you should be able to accept your loss." The winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. Longao did not continue to talk nonsense because he knew very well that Zhao Yu was right. In this world where martial arts were respected, strength represented everything. No matter what, he had lost the battle with Zhao Yu just now. A loss was a loss. Longao looked coldly at everyone in front of him and said coldly, "Zhao Yu, Kong Feng, I, Longao, will put my words here today. I will not let this matter rest. One day, I will come back for you." Ha ha ha. Hearing Longao's words, everyone laughed crazily towards the sky. It was as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. After all, Longao still wanted to leave in such a situation. It was simply a fool's dream. Kong Feng sneered and said contemptuously, "Longao, do you really think you can leave? I don't know if you are really stupid or just pretending to be stupid." Just now, Longao's sudden disappearance had deeply shocked everyone. It was precisely because of this that Zhao Yu had secretly given the order. The 4 Saint Venerables and 7 Saint Emperors had already locked down all the exits. In other words, Longao had no way out. Chapter 781. Longao, do you think you can still leave this place alive? Let me give you a piece of advice. You better not provoke me. Zhao Yu and young Dingtian looked at each other and saw a trace of ridicule in each other's eyes. This was Longao, a person who didn't know his limits. "Father, I beg you. Let Longao leave." Young Dingtian didn't say anything this time because he had already decided that no matter what, he had to deal with Longao. Because the situation had already developed to this stage, he couldn't find any trouble for the sect. "Longao, are you afraid?" Longao stared at everyone in front of him. He knew clearly that the Clear Sky sect wouldn't let him off since the situation had developed to this stage. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to be polite. Longao took 3 steps back. Just as everyone thought that Longao was going to escape, a scene that shocked everyone happened. Tens of thousands of spirit beasts suddenly appeared in front of Longao. Everyone was completely flabbergasted. Longao wasn't willing to use the Million Corpse Demon Army unless it was a last resort. Because he knew clearly what the Million Corpse Demon Army meant. At this moment, the Clear Sky sect was in complete chaos. Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu didn't expect the situation to develop to this stage. They didn't dare to be careless and immediately gathered their men to resist the attack of the million spirit beasts. However, Longao didn't use the Million Corpse Demon Army to massacre the so-called Clear Sky sect. Longao wasn't the Longao from before. If it was according to Longao's temper in the past, he would have slaughtered everyone in the Clear Sky sect under such circumstances. The million-strong Corpse Demon Army trapped everyone. Immediately after, Longao took advantage of this opportunity to attack Kong Feng. Seeing that the situation wasn't good, Kong Feng turned around and prepared to leave. When they saw the endless number of spirit beasts appearing, both Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian didn't care about Kong Feng's life and death. The most important thing was to protect the sect. "Longao, you dare to kill me?" Kong Feng, who was about to leave, saw Longao rushing over. He was so shocked that he almost rolled and crawled. However, in Kong Feng's opinion, unless there was something wrong with Longao's head, there was no way he would deal with him. But what was the result? Longao simply ignored Kong Feng's threat, and the wild draw blade in his hand had already ruthlessly chopped down. Originally, according to the comparison of the two's strength, even if the two of them fought, it was still unknown who would win. However, Kong Feng was already scared out of his wits. He did not have the slightest intention to continue fighting. He wished he could grow 8 legs and immediately leave this damned place. Longao was very clear in his heart that this was the best time to kill Kong Feng. Longao used spatial teleportation to instantly appear in front of Kong Feng. Then, he used the solar ray to attack. At this time, Kong Feng's state of mind was already in chaos. He had no desire to continue fighting and only wanted to leave this place. In this way, the success rate of Longao's soul formation attack directly increased to 100%. One might be able to survive a heavenly disaster, but one would not be able to survive a self-inflicted disaster. Kong Feng would never have thought that it was because of his fear that he would ultimately fall. The result was without a doubt. Kong Feng was attacked by the soul formation and fell to the ground. His body was constantly trembling. One had to admit that Kong Feng's strength was very powerful. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already fallen. Longao would not let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The Divine Dragon Arm and the Underworld Tiger Arm ruthlessly smashed onto the top of Kong Feng's head. After taking away the soul, Kong Feng and Zhu Chen had officially fallen. After settling Kong Feng, Longao did not wish to continue. He withdrew the Million Corpse Demon Army into the Dragon Seal spatial dimension. Although he tried his best to suppress it, it was impossible for the Million Corpse Demon Army to not injure anyone. In just a few minutes, Longao took a glance and estimated that the Supreme Sky Sect had lost over 100 people. Everyone let out a breath of relief when they saw that it was empty. Especially Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian, because the million spirit beasts that appeared earlier were too terrifying. If it wasn't because Longao took the million spirit beasts away, the entire Supreme Sky Sect would have been annihilated in less than an hour. However, Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian didn't have any joy. Instead, they had grave expressions. The reason was simple. Longao had just killed Kong Feng. Once this matter was spread back to the Black Wind Valley, not only Longao, but even the Supreme Sky Sect would be in trouble. Longao, you actually dared to kill Kong Feng. Shaking his head in disdain, Longao couldn't even be bothered to say more. But ultimately, he still said, Yang Dingtian, Zhao Yu. Today, on account of Yang Qian I will let your Supreme Sky Sect off this time. Remember, God is watching what you do. Just as Longao turned around, the voice echoed again. You can still survive a heavenly disaster, but you cannot survive a self-inflicted disaster. Looking at Longao's gradually disappearing figure, both Yang Dingtian and Yang Dingtian had an extremely unpleasant expression. They knew that Longao was just a Saint Emperor, but they didn't dare to make a move. The reason was simple. It was unknown why Longao was able to summon over 1 million spirit beasts. Just this point alone was enough for the Supreme Sky Sect to not provoke him. Master, what should we do now? How could Yang Dingtian not know what Zhao Yu meant? This matter was very troublesome. Putting aside Longao, just the fact that Kong Feng had died in the Supreme Sky Sect was enough to make Yang Dingtian not know how to explain to the Black Wind Valley. If there were no accidents, the Supreme Sky Sect and the Black Wind Valley would have a complete feud. Yang Dingtian was cursing Longao in his heart. Seal off this matter immediately. Every minute counts. We have to think of a way to salvage the situation. Ultimately, the solution that Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu came up with was very simple, which was to tell the truth to the Black Wind Valley. However, this matter had nothing to do with the Supreme Sky Sect. Furthermore, the Supreme Sky Sect had suffered great losses because of this matter. On the other hand, Yang Dingtian had sent out 7 Saint Emperors and 4 Saint Venerables. They were personally led by Zhao Yu to pursue Longao. Yang Dingtian might be afraid of Longao's million spirit beasts, but he had to deal with Longao no matter what. Otherwise, the Black Wind Valley would not let this matter rest. Just like this, Longao had provoked both the Black Wind Valley and the Supreme Sky Sect when he had just entered the Sky Martial continent. Furthermore, he was being pursued by both the Supreme Sky Sect and the Black Wind Valley. Longao didn't have any fear because he deeply understood a principle, which was to deal with whatever came his way. No matter who it was, as long as they dared to provoke him, he had to kill them without mercy. Longao might not be willing to create too many massacres, but if someone was looking for trouble, he would never be a coward. If it was during normal times, Longao would definitely contend with the 2 major factions until the end. But now, he didn't have much time left. After some calculations, there was only slightly more than a month before the Long family summoned him. The 2 supreme Dao martial artists had already said that if they didn't see him in a month, the Long family would eliminate the dragon sect. Longao didn't care, but he couldn't ignore his clan and sect. Therefore, Longao had already decided that no matter what, he had to reach the Long family within a month. Chapter 782. After leaving the Clear Sky sect, Longao did not relax at all. He knew that the Clear Sky sect and the Black Wind Valley would not let him off easily after killing Ju Chuan and Kong Feng. As the young valley master of the Black Wind Valley, Kong Feng knew that he would face a lot of trouble in the future. Although the Clear Sky sect was not as strong as the Ethereal Palace, the Imperial City, and the third-grade Long family, the Black Wind Valley was as strong as the three major forces. Therefore, Longao was very careful. Longao did not continue thinking about the Black Wind Valley and the Clear Sky sect. He hurried on with his journey, hoping that he could reach the Long family within a month. The Tianwu continent was divided into 5 major continents: the Eastern Region continent, the Western Region continent, the Southern Sea continent, the Northern Plains continent, and the Middle Tianwu continent. The Middle Tianwu continent was the strongest continent among the 5 major continents. Even if the other 4 major continents were added together, they would not be as strong as the Middle Tianwu continent. The 10 great factions. The Middle Tianwu continent had a total of 10 major forces: the Long family, the Alchemy Alliance, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Myriad Beast sect, the Heaven and Earth sect, the Five Elements sect, the Wanzhan school, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, and the Heavenly Profound sect. The Long family was definitely in the top 3 among the 10 great factions. Not only was the Long family strong, but more importantly, the Long family had the help of the Dragon tribe. Furthermore, the Dragon martial artists were the strongest existences in the world. The Long family had a total of 9 levels. From low to high, they were the 9th Long family, 8th Long family, 7th Long family, 6th Long family, 5th Long family, 4th Long family, 3rd Long family, 2nd Long family, and 1st Long family. This was the so-called Long family. The location of the Long clan was very remote. It could be said that it was not far from the Dragon clan. The rules of the Long family were very strict. Even the disciples of the Long family could not casually enter the Dragon tribe, let alone the low-level Long family. In other words, Long family disciples, no matter what level they were, all dreamed of entering the Dragon clan, obtaining a dragon companion, and becoming a dragon warrior. Long family members would choose suitable disciples to enter the Dragon Valley from time to time, but not everyone would be able to find their own dragon companions after entering the Dragon Valley. The Long family was very far away from the Supreme Sky sect. Longao did a rough calculation. Even if he traveled at full speed and did not encounter any obstacles, it would still take him half a month. 20 days was more than enough. In other words, if he successfully reached the Long family, he would still have an entire month to spare. Longao had already thought about it. Even if he arrived at the Long family, he had to make some time to study the terrain. This was because this trip to the Long family was dangerous. Who knew if the Long family would make a move against him? Long family had as many experts as there were clouds. There were as many divine Tao cultivators as there were hairs on a cow. Longao wanted to smoothly reach the Long family. However, many people were not willing to do so. The Supreme Sky sect and Black Wind Valley jointly issued a kill order. Not only that, but the 2 sects also paid a high price for Longao's life. In a short period of time, Longao became famous in the Middle Tianwu continent. Although the Black Wind Valley and the Supreme Sky sect were nothing in the Middle Tianwu continent, they were still third-rate powers. Ordinary people would not dare to offend the 2 sects. However, Longao offended both of them at once. He was simply courting death. Longao's identity also became a mystery. Many people guessed who Longao was and why he dared to offend both the Black Wind Valley and the Supreme Sky sect at the same time. The Supreme Sky sect directly sealed off Longao's secrets, such as his innate talent, martial dragon cultivation, and earth elemental energy. The Supreme Sky sect was not a fool. Naturally, they knew that regardless of whether Longao was a member of the Long family or a disciple of the Five Element sect, The Supreme Sky Sect would not hesitate to kill Longao before anyone knew of his identity. At that time, no one would know. Hence, the Black Wind Valley and the Supreme Sky Sect continued to pursue Longao. 20 days later, Longao did not encounter any assassination attempts from the two sects. He only used some small tricks and easily arrived at the Long family's location. As one of the 10 major powers of the Middle Tianwu continent, no one dared to cause trouble within 500 kilometers. This was the Long family's territory. Unless there was something wrong with one's head or someone seeking death, no one would dare to cause trouble here. When Longao entered the Long family's territory, he did not rashly enter the Long family's territory. There was still a month before the Long family would summon him. This time, the Long family had summoned him. It was easy to guess why. Longao was very clear that once he entered the Long family's territory, he did not know if he would live or die. It would be like entering a tiger's den. Anyone from the Long family could deal with him. Longao stepped in and began to observe the surroundings. He also conveniently inquired about the matters regarding the Long family. The Long family was split into 9 levels. Longao's Long family was located in the distant eastern continent, very far away from the Tianwu continent. Although Longao had heard about the Long family since he was young, he did not understand the Long family very well. Long family had countless cities around it, both big and small. Long family would not interfere in these cities unless they made a big move. After all, this was the Long family's territory. Who would dare to behave atrociously here? Longao entered one of the larger cities, preparing to ask about the Long family. After 3 days of asking, Longao finally understood the general situation of the Long family. The Long clan was also the only first-tier Long clan. Within the Long clan, there were also many factions. Each of them had their own way of doing things, and no one was willing to submit to another. If it weren't for the Long Valley's suppression, the Long clan would have been torn apart long ago. During this time, other than asking about the Long family, Longao also heard 2 things. One was about the dragon ranking, and the other was about the earth ranking and heaven ranking. The dragon ranking was without a doubt a ranking for the Long family. It was also the ranking with the highest value. It was very simple to enter the dragon ranking. Firstly, one could not be over 40 years old. Secondly, one had to be a disciple of the Long family. In other words, no matter what level a disciple of the Long family was, they could enter the dragon ranking. As for the earth ranking and heaven ranking, it was also very simple. The rules of the earth ranking were the same as the dragon ranking. As long as one was not over 40 years old, then no matter who it was, no matter what identity they had, they could pursue it. Finally, the heaven ranking was the most powerful ranking in the entire Tianwu continent. Anyone who could enter the heaven ranking was the strongest existence in the Tianwu continent. Even divine path experts might not be able to enter the heaven ranking. Chapter 783. Heaven ranking, earth ranking, and dragon ranking. There were only 100 spots on each of the 3 rankings. Longao was very clear that those who were able to enter these 3 lists were all heaven-bestowed geniuses, people with extremely powerful strength. Longao calculated. With Long Chen's current strength, he could at most enter the 80th place on the dragon ranking. In other words, even if Long Chen's cultivation broke through to the Great Emperor realm, he could at most enter the top 30 of the dragon ranking or even lower. Longao was only a beginner Saint Emperor. Even if he could enter the dragon ranking, he would probably be at the bottom. Long Chen had once said that if he could enter the dragon ranking, the Long family wouldn't do anything to him. Just as he thought of Long Chen had already arrived. Long Chen was summoned by the Long family and arrived before Longao. He had a rough understanding of the Long family. To the entire Long clan, whether it was Longao or Long Chen, they were all outsiders. Longao, you're finally here. Long Chen was pleasantly surprised when he saw the young man in front of him. But soon, his face was filled with helplessness and worry. Long Chen, what happened? The 2 of them sat down. Long Chen said, Longao, I've been asking around. The Long family is divided into 2 factions. The master wants to focus on nurturing you, but the first elder wants to kill you. Long Chen didn't continue, but the meaning in his words was very clear. The Long family's first elder was a high and mighty existence. Even the master had to be wary of the first elder. Longao knew that the Long family's first elder didn't like him. It seemed that this matter was going to be troublesome. Longao, don't worry. As long as the master doesn't say anything, the first elder won't be able to do anything. But this time, it will be very troublesome for you to enter the Long family. Longao nodded. He had already guessed this, so he wasn't surprised at all. I set half a year with the Long family, so I still have some time. You don't plan to go now? I'm going. I was planning to wait until the time was up, but now, I want to see who can hurt me. Longao knew that what was to come would come. The more he avoided it, the more troublesome it would be. Long Chen naturally knew what Longao meant. This matter had to be resolved sooner or later. It was better to resolve it sooner rather than later. Long Chen, tell me about the dragon rank. Longao still did not have a deep understanding of the dragon rank. This time, he had joined the Long family. If the Long family chose not to attack him in the end, then chasing after the dragon rank would be unavoidable. As the saying goes, know thyself and know thy enemy to be victorious in every battle. Nodding, Long Chen said, Longao, I am now a holy venerate. Last month, I entered the Dragon Valley and immediately chased after the dragon ranking. After a few days of challenges, I finally made it into the top 90. Now, I am ranked 88th. The Lord ranked 88th. Based on Long Chen's calculation, it seemed that even a martial emperor would not be able to enter the top 60. If that was the case, Xiao Chen still underestimated the dragon rank. As if he could see what Longao was thinking, Long Chen said helplessly, Longao, the Long family's dragon rank is not inferior to the earth rank. I already understood that even a martial emperor would find it difficult to enter the top of the dragon rank. It seems that the top 10 of the dragon rank are all divine Dao martial artists, and the 11th to 20th are all titled martial emperors. Damn it. Although he already overestimated the value of the dragon leaderboard, Longao still never thought that the dragon leaderboard was so valuable. The top 10 were actually all deity realm martial artists, and the top 20 were all titled Great Emperor martial artists. If Long Chen had not said it himself, Longao would not have believed it. Long Chen, I want to ask you a question. Your cultivation base seems to be rising very quickly. Longao was very curious about Long Chen's cultivation base rising so quickly. Long Chen's cultivation talent was there for all to see. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible for him to rise so quickly. Was there something fishy about it? Longao was very clear that even if Long Chen had awakened his bloodline, his cultivation speed would not be so terrifying. Longao, you are my friend, so I won't hide it from you. The reason my cultivation base rose so quickly is because when I went to the Long family's ancestral hall to awaken my bloodline, the master personally helped me. Furthermore, I have already become the master's final disciple. So that's how it was. Longao finally knew why Long Chen had risen so quickly. It was because he had become the final disciple of the Long family's patriarch. Longao was very clear about what the Long family's patriarch meant. Longao, after entering the martial heaven continent, I believe you already know that other than the dragon ranking, there are two other rankings. One is the earth ranking, and the other is the heaven ranking. Yes. Longao already had a general understanding of the heaven ranking and the earth ranking. Especially the heaven ranking. It was the most valuable ranking in the martial heaven continent. The strongest martial artists in the martial heaven continent chased after it. It was easy to imagine what it meant to be able to enter the heaven ranking. The master of the Long family is also on the heaven ranking. Nodding, Long Chen said, you're right. Although I haven't seen the heaven ranking, I've heard that my master is not only on the heaven ranking, but also in the top 10. Longao's heart skipped a beat. Longao was very clear about what being in the top 10 of the heaven ranking meant. The heaven ranking was already the most valuable ranking. For the master of the Long family to be in the top 10, That in itself showed how powerful the master of the Long family was. Long Chen, since you've already had such an opportunity, you must properly grasp it in the future. I know that. Longao, I came to find you this time because my master informed me. Hearing that, Longao was startled, because the meaning of Long Chen's words was very clear. That was, the matter of him entering the Long family's territory was already known by the Long family. Following that, Longao thought about it and felt relieved. After all, this was the Long family's territory. If he stepped in and the Long family didn't know, that would be strange. Longao, don't worry. Without my master's orders, the Long family won't do anything to you. However, you still have to be careful. In a while, when you enter the Long family, there will be people who will find trouble with you. Remember, you have to endure, otherwise, if the Great Elder catches the opportunity, you will be in trouble. Endure? Did he really have to endure? Longao didn't say anything because he knew Long Chen's good intentions. No matter what, he treated Long Chen as a friend. That was enough. Longao stood up, looked at the Long family in the distance, and said, "Let's go. We have to face what we have to face. I really want to see the legendary Long family." Long Chen also stood up, but he didn't say anything because at this moment, he didn't know what to say. Just like that, the two of them walked out of the restaurant at the same time and headed towards the Long family. Chapter 784. Long family. It stretched for hundreds of miles. At a glance, it looked very imposing. As one of the superpowers of the Sky Martial continent, the Long family had hundreds of thousands of disciples. They were scattered across the various peaks. The main peak of the Long family was called the Dragon Peak. The entire peak seemed to be connected with the sky. It was a shocking sight. The entire Dragon Peak was 1,000 feet tall. It was filled with dangerous peaks and strange rocks. There was a huge cliff with a stone dragon on it. It was like a dragon raising its head. It was extraordinary. Longao, this is the headquarters of the Long family. He nodded. Of course, Longao knew that the mountain range in front of him was the headquarters of the Long clan. If he didn't come, he wouldn't know. But if he came, he would be shocked. Just the huge mountain range of the Long clan was enough to shock many people. Let's go. Since things had already reached this stage, Longao did not want to continue hesitating. It was still the same sentence. He had to face what he had to face. Long Chen shrugged helplessly. After all, Longao's matters were not something he could control. Not to mention him, even his master, the leader of the Long family, might not be able to cover the sky with one hand. After a while, Longao and Long Chen had already entered the Long family. Along the way, they could see people looking at them strangely. Most of them were looking at them with disdain, mockery, and disdain. Longao did not care because he knew that with his identity, it would be strange if he was looked at by the disciples of the Long family. Isn't this our genius disciple, Long Chen? Sure, Long Chen's identity is different now. He is the last disciple of the master. Be careful that Long Chen doesn't complain. You'll be in trouble. At this time, 6 or 7 youths blocked the two of them. They were mocking and ridiculing them. They were obviously targeting Long Chen. Seeing this situation, Longao instantly understood one thing. Long Chen was not good in the Long family. Even if he was the disciple of the Long family's leader, this situation could not be changed. Looking at the few people in front of him, Long Chen's face was extremely gloomy. A tall and handsome young man walked out from the group. He said mockingly, "Long Chen, don't think that you can become a disciple of my Long family just because you became master's last disciple." Without giving Long Chen any chance to speak, Long Yu continued to ridicule, "Trash will always be trash. A rank 3 Long family member actually wants to become a disciple of my Long family. You really don't know what death is." Long Chen had already told Longao about the situation of the person in front of him through spiritual sense transmission. Because of this, Longao sneered and said, "Long Chen, are you trash?" Long Chen didn't say anything because he didn't know what Longao meant. However, Long Chen was 100% sure that Longao would never hurt him. Just as expected. Longao continued, Long Chen is just a piece of trash. You are a talented disciple of the Long family, and you are ranked 88th, but you can't even beat a piece of trash. It seems like you are even worse than trash, am I right? Long Yu was a high-level sacred venerate. He was considered an outstanding disciple in the Long family because he was ranked 88th on the dragon ranking. Because of this, Long Yu had always been high and mighty and arrogant. Long Chen entered the Long family and became the last disciple of the Long family's master. This attracted the envy of many people, including Long Yu. Long Yu had been looking for trouble with Long Chen. Originally, Long Chen didn't want to look for trouble, at least not now. However, in the end, he had no choice but to accept Long Yu's challenge. Long Yu was confident that he could defeat Long Chen. However, in the end, Long Chen defeated Long Yu and rose from 100th to 88th on the dragon ranking. Because of this, Long Yu couldn't accept it and wanted to regain his face. After failing the challenge, Long Yu fell from 88th to 89th. He was worse than trash. Longao had just entered the Long family and he dared to provoke a disciple of the Long family. It could be said that he was extremely daring. If it was an ordinary person, would they dare to do this? Long Chen pulled Longao. His meaning was very simple. He was afraid that Longao would be impulsive. Therefore, before coming, he had repeatedly warned Longao. However, the result was that what he was afraid of still happened. Although Long Chen knew that Longao was standing up for him, this was the Long family. It wasn't the 9 continents. Just as expected. Hearing Longao's words, Long Yu was instantly enraged. He was here to look for trouble. Although he had already lost to Long Chen, he had always thought that the battle was because he was careless. If he had gone all out, he might not have lost to Long Chen. Who do you think you are? How dare you talk here? Long Yu, let me give you a piece of advice. You better not look for trouble. He is Longao, the person that master wants to meet. Hearing that the young man in front of them was the legendary Longao, everyone was shocked. If it was an ordinary person, even if it was a level 2 disciple of the Long family, Long Yu and the rest wouldn't put him in their eyes. However, Longao was different. This wasn't because of what Longao had done in the 9 continents. It was because of Longao's self-creation of the dragon sect. Ever since the Long family was created, no one in the 9 continents dared to do such a thing. Creating the dragon sect was a clear indication of his intention. He wanted to leave the Long family and go out to do things alone. Would the Long family agree to this? The news of Longao creating the dragon sect had already spread throughout the Long family. Many people were furious. However, the master had been suppressing it, so no one dared to go to the 9 continents to look for trouble. Ha ha ha, there's a path to heaven, but you're not there. There's no door to hell, but you barge in. Long Yu, what do you mean by this? What do I mean? Long Yu snorted and said disdainfully, Longao created the dragon sect and left the Long family. According to the rules of the Long family, scum like him should be punished. Longao, you don't put the Long family in your eyes. How dare you come here? I have to admit that you have guts. Long Chen wanted to say something, but he was stopped by Longao. Longao had already expected things to happen after entering the Long family. It wouldn't be easy to meet the people above. You're Long Yu? That's right. I'm Long Yu. Although he had lost to Long Chen, Long Yu still had an arrogant expression on his face. This was because he was ranked 89th on the dragon ranking. This showed his talent and strength. In other words, Long Yu had the right to be arrogant. Longao couldn't deny this point. So it's Long Yu. Sorry for the disrespect. Before I came, Long Chen kept talking about you. About what? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.